Good evening. We're going to start the November the 15th meeting. We'll have the, please stand, we'll have the invocation by Brad Lomneck, Pledge of Allegiance by myself, and then roll call.
Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, Lord God. Please help our commissioners as they do the work of the city, Lord. Please help our first responders, help our military, Lord, and help our citizens, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Brinson?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson? Here. Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Firstner?
Here.
Commissioner Oliver?
Here. Okay, we have no presentations or proclamations, so staff reports.
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Okay, consent agenda.
I'll make that motion to approve.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over to public comments. We have one public comment that's not under the agenda, so Jennifer Yon. It's a 3-minute time.
Good evening, everyone. I am absolutely honored to report to this board the success of the 3rd annual Ocoee Remembers event. In 2021, the board placed its confidence in Jennifer Yon Agency to host the commemorative event to honor the lives lost during the Ocoee massacre. To the city's credit, by hosting this event, you've all made some great strides in acknowledging the racism at the foundation of the largest loss of life ever experienced by the city. Since Jennifer Yon Agency has been in the HIM, this event has grown drastically. In 2021, this event was entrusted to me with only 2 weeks of planning time. For 2022, Jennifer Yon Agency worked almost a full year without payment. This outdoor event featured a musical ride in by the Buffalo Soldiers and other motorcycle clubs, over 20 vendors, extraordinary local talent, and massacre dependents who traveled from near and far to participate in honoring of their ancestors. I want to definitely say kudos are deserved on many fronts. Commissioner Oliver and Commissioner Brinson, without your vision for the event, would not have it manifested. Jay Carr, Tanya Dorisco of the Diversity Board, as well as Annette Johnson, Brad Lumnick, and Demetric Brown, your support throughout this event was hugely beneficial to the success. It is very important to note that this event is grossly underfunded in comparison to other Ocoee-sponsored events, and vendors from 2022 continue to await payment for services rendered. In doing my research regarding the Ocoee Music Festival, it appears to be a huge disparity. I originally presented a budget of approximately about $100,000 and was strongly encouraged by you, Mayor Rusty, and Scott Kennedy to try to accomplish all that we did for under $25,000. Very thankful to Commissioner Firstner, who added in funds to the budget. I then presented a budget of over $33,000, but because there was no prompt movement from the board, requirements increased. To date, I have not received any reply, calls, or emails from the final invoice of about $27,000. Whether intentional or not, the city also appears to place unnecessary obstacles in the way of this event, including lack of volunteers from the city, which a cost to Jennifer Young Agency needing to put in place parking monitors and cleanup crews. That was not originally in the budget. Had members of the city stepped up, there were costs that would not have been incurred. Moreover, behind-the-scenes work included travel for the descendants, marketing, talent accommodations. The event ran smoothly as intended, and all ethnic groups were in attendance and honored by the mood of the day of peace and unity.
All right, it's done. Time's up. Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I have a question.
Wait a minute.
My question is, do you have an ask here of this commission?
Commissioner,
Do you have an ask?
recess, time out.
I have a question.
Time out, not now.
I have every right to ask.
I'll recognize you, sir.
Ma'am, do you have a ask of this
Recess.
commission?
Take a recess, shut it off.
volume is off right now.
Huh?
The volume is muted.
Okay, that's good.
So my question again, as I stated before, I heard your presentation as you were cut off so abruptly. I do have questions concerning this, which it should have been more than 3 minutes. Should have been at least 5 minutes because, again, other members of this audience usually gets 5 to 10 minutes. So the question I do have is, what is your ask of this commission, ma'am?
Before you say anything, first thing, read the quote. Public comments, 3 minutes. We've been going through that for 25 years. Now,
Well, let me just,
Let me finish. If you're in a public hearing, and it's in a public hearing part, you do 5 minutes. So that's it. So thank you, ma'am. If they want to talk, the commissioner wants to talk about it, we'll talk. That's it.
okay, in questions, I am coming in as was hired by the city, and I'm giving an update for a city event.
No contract. Okay, we're going to discuss that anyway, so it's been brought up, so if you want to have a seat.
So in closing, should I continue?
He's not running the meeting, I am.
Okay,
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And
Mr. Mayor,
I apologize for the rudeness that you have experienced here. When you walked in the door, you saw a civility poster up there, and I apologize that we're not following the same rules that we're asking you to follow.
You know, we go through this all the time. There's only 2 people up here to get into discussions. It seems to be Commissioner Oliver and myself. I happen to be the mayor right now, not him. So the meeting goes by what the rules state. The rules state what it is. It also, under the budget process, the city manager takes care of it. We voted for you're right, Commissioner Foster made the motion for $32,000, not for the Saturday deal. And I will tell you, I was gonna wait to the end of the meeting to say this. The program, Saturday night and Sunday, were super. And that was by High Point Church. They did a wonderful job. They did a great job. And he's out of town or I'd have him here. They did a super job with what they did and did what they were supposed to do. Under the last 2 years, we're doing the same thing, the same people were there this time. We did it for under 30,000 each time. Not having the bands, not having vendors there, charging them that. We have no receipts. I've seen that bill. There's no receipts. So get the receipts. I do know the church didn't get paid. All right, we're gonna move on to the consent agenda. I need approval or just.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda?
Moved by Commissioner Wilson to approve the consent agenda. There's a second.
Second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Ross. Any more discussion?
well, I may have a question here.
Wait a
I think
minute.
I think I may have,
About the motion.
no, I have a question on the
Which one?
items. On number 6.
Number 6?
Let me pull number 6.
Can I amend my motion to, consent agenda less item
That
number
was
6?
6, just a minute. Did you get that,
sorry.
Melanie? All right,
We have a second, I have to,
all right. We want to go ahead and have a motion to approve everything except item 6. Do I hear a motion?
Seconded.
Seconded again by Commissioner Oliver. Motion made by Commissioner Wilson.
You
All
vote?
right, any more comment? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right. Commissioner.
Yeah, on item 6, I just have a question regarding disaster debris monitoring services. There you are. I was just looking for you. Exactly what it's, I know the last meeting we had questions about how much debris had already been collected, how much debris was estimated and actually how much we actually had at that particular time. Is this the same as that, or is this different?
No, that's based on, that is the monitoring company that's tracking all the costs. We're a little over 30,000 cubic yards of material. The vendor, one of the vendors originally thought it'd only be about 5,000, but we came across a lot more of that. We'll also be bringing forth the debris removal contractor, the one that's actually hauling the material off. That'll be coming forward at another time. We're still waiting on their numbers. But it's all based on contracts we entered in with these individuals a couple of years ago.
Okay, so for clarity, this disaster debris monitoring services does what?
They follow, FEMA requires all the documentation to get reimbursement. They have a person following each crew. They document it with GPS coordinates. They take pictures of the loads, pictures of the trucks. We have people verifying they had to certify all the trucks, basically handling the FEMA side of it, making sure that everything we submit is going to be reimbursable.
So this happens after the debris pickups commences?
Correct. They set up with, we had them involved right in the beginning with our debris contractor. And we basically have been working hand in hand to make sure everything's documented. And they put the people on the ground to make sure everything's digitally documented.
And the city is reimbursed for this?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have.
Well, I have a question as well. Does this involve a change order? I was looking in here at the letter that they sent. Is this a change from an original contract? There's some kind of modification from an original contract on this particular one here?
No, it's on the original contract. I think this one we entered into in 2019, if I remember on the write-up. And it's based on the rates from back then. It holds, I think it's a 5-year contract.
Somewhere in the letter states something about a change. It mentions the word change in the letter.
We do, if anything changes, they actually expect to come in lower, but we do put on in the approval recommendation so that it doesn't have to come back to the commission if it's a small change, if there's minor change orders, to allow the mayor and city manager to execute change orders within the budget should we come across any.
What is the threshold of any change if it goes up?
Has to be under $50,000.
Anything under $50,000?
Yeah.
Then you just sign off and we keep moving?
Yes.
Okay. Also, this company is it's a monitoring, they're not actually doing the physical work, right? They're just actually monitoring, or they're managing the boots on the ground. Is that what this company does?
Correct.
Okay. So they're monitoring to the tune of $109,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you a question. Some of the positions on here that I'm looking at, you have project managers that we're paying, $3,000. There's operations manager, $15,000. There's a field monitor for $42,000, the tower monitor for $31,000. So there's a list of the different positions that we're paying here. Could any of these positions be done in-house?
When Hurricane Irma came through, we attempted to do that. We aren't set up for the way FEMA changed things back in Irma. And with all the digital requirements, Thompson comes in with everything loaded, ready to go. And one of the reasons we entered into this type of contract, I met with the Public Works Director from up in the Panhandle who went through the Hurricane Michael when it hit Mexico Beach. And I asked him, I said, what was the one positive that came out of it? And he said, we had debris monitors so that while a hurricane was going, after the hurricane, they could take care of all the public works issues, and then the monitors could make sure they got the reimbursement from FEMA. And I'm glad we had it now, because right now with the shortage in people, we wouldn't have been able to staff it adequately, which could have cost us losing the money. And it's also a reimbursable fee through FEMA by doing it this way.
How long does it normally take to get a reimbursement from FEMA?
I couldn't tell you.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Several years.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve item 6 of the consent agenda.
Motion made by Commissioner Brownson. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilson. No more comments? Let's vote.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. First reading of ordinance, none. Second reading of ordinance is public hearing. Second reading of ordinance for Land Development Code, amendment to Article 5, Section 5-15B, and Table 5.1 relating to major community residential homes and commercial recreation facilities. Zoning Manager Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So the issue before the City Commission this evening is whether or not to approve an ordinance that amends Section 5-15B and Table 5-1 and Article 5 of the city's Land Development Code relating to major community residential homes and commercial recreational facilities. So the first topic, major community residential homes, those are those assisted living group homes that serve 7 to 14 residents. Statute requires us to treat them as a single-family dwelling. The table, the use table right now, Table 5-1, allows major community residential homes by right within the agricultural zoning district, as well as the residential zoning districts, RC1 through R3. However, in text, Section 5-15B, in subsection 3, it states that the use requires a conditional use permit and approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Commission via a special exception hearing, and that the major community residential home has to meet the requirements for a multifamily development. So there are inconsistencies between the sections of the code as well as regulations relative to how the state wants us to treat them. There also aren't a lot of regulations relative to protecting adjacent residential neighborhoods. So what staff is proposing to do is to change the code to modify Table 5.1 to not allow major community residential homes in the agriculture and single-family districts, but allow them as a special exception, which is a public hearing process in the R3 district, and R3 is the multifamily district. In coming to this recommendation, we did look up several communities, including Seminole County, Altamont Springs, Castleberry, Belle Isle, and Windermere, and they all essentially do the same thing. They allow the major ones in their multifamily districts. So that is what we are proposing to do here as well. The other code change is relating to Section 5-15B3, the text itself, to remove the reference to conditional use and replace it with special exception, since by definition that is what that is, and we have a process in the code already for how to proceed with a special exception approval. We also are proposing changes to establish the process and criteria for approving these major community residential homes based on not whether it's multifamily or single family, but whether it's impacting parking. So separation requirements from the statutes is included, parking based on the number of beds. It's included maintaining the residential character and then being compliant with the city's other requirements for all the other residential districts. Those are requirements of the Code of Ordinances. In terms of commercial recreation facilities, in Article 2, which is the code's definitions article, there's a definition for commercial recreation facility. It clearly lists out indoor and outdoor facilities. Indoor includes arcades, billiards, bowling alleys, those high activity users. But it also includes outdoor uses, such as miniature golf, horse riding, driving ranges, go-kart tracks, and things like that. However, the definition for neighborhood recreation facility specifically says any outdoor recreation facility that is, or activity that is oriented towards meeting the needs, the recreational needs of residences in close proximity, such as ball fields, playgrounds, and things like that. However, when you look at the use table, again, commercial recreation facility, both indoor and outdoor, because currently there isn't a distinction, they are allowed by right in the C2, C3, and I1 and I2 zoning districts. However, neighborhood recreation facilities, which are outdoor facilities, they're required to undergo a special exception hearing in those same commercial and industrial zoning districts. So the issue that we have is that there's a difference in the level of scrutiny for neighborhood recreational facilities. And outdoor commercial recreational facilities are more intense and impactful than neighborhood facilities, and they should be subject to the same level of review as the neighborhood ones in order to protect surrounding properties. So with that, we are recommending that we modify the table, the use table, to create a clear distinction between indoor commercial and outdoor commercial, and allowing the indoor commercial to still be allowed by right in the C2, C3, I1, I2 zoning districts, but require a special exception for those outdoor facilities so that we are making sure that we're mitigating for any potential impacts to the surrounding neighborhoods as well as the infrastructure and transportation corridors. The Table 5-1 also includes a miniature golf course driving range as a listed use. Because that's also listed as part of the definition, we're just striking that from the use table so that there aren't any other conflicts. With that, staff is recommending that the commission approves the ordinance to amend Article 5, Section 5-15B, and Table 5-1 relating to community residential homes, the major ones, and commercial recreation facilities.
Yes.
Yeah, let me read the title to this ordinance. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending the City of Ocoee Land Development Code, Article 5, Section 5-15B, and Table 5-1 relating to major community residential homes and commercial recreation facilities, providing for codification, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
All right, we're going to open the public hearing for item 11. Anybody in the public have any comments on the second reading of the ordinance related to the code? All right, we'll close the public hearing, bring it back up to the dais. Gentlemen, do you have any comments? Not, I need a motion.
I have a question on the distance from each home. Is it still 1,200 feet, or are you just striking the ability to have those type of facilities in a residential community currently? And are the ones who are there grandfathered in?
Right now, the only major one that I'm aware of is the one that the commission approved a few hearings ago. The other ones have all been the ones that are minor, serving 6 or fewer, and the majority of those are serving 5, so as to avoid the needed upgrades and improvements to the houses based on the Florida Building Code. The statute has distance requirements, 1,000 feet between any 2 minor community residential home, those are the up to 6 residents, and then 1,200 feet between any minor or major next to another major that's coming in. So the major that's coming in would have to meet that 1,200 feet.
Well,
And the major community residential homes that's in a R3 zoning district, I believe, has to be 500 feet from a single-family district. Those are the standards that's in the Florida statutes now.
So if a major multifamily facility came in, first it would have to get a permission to do so from the commission.
Yes. If one were to come in, it would only be allowed in an R3. It would not be allowed, if this were to pass, it would not be allowed in any of the single-family districts. If they have an R3 zoning district, it would still have to come in as a special exception.
Okay, that answers my question.
Why are we, right now, basically ALF has to be 1,200 feet. From
What?
1,200 from another ALF, correct?
Another major one. So it's 1,000 feet between 2 minors, or a minor and a major, if the major is coming in.
Why are we allowing 1,000? Why aren't we going 12? Why aren't we staying with the consistency that we have right now, which I know we made the exception for that one in my district, okay? But it has standard been 1,200, correct?
The standard, there's 2 districts at 2 distance.
For us, it's been 1,200, correct?
It's been 1,000 for the minors, the way the minors it reads now, it's 1,000. Majors, so right now, our code doesn't speak to the distance at all for the major. It just says it has to, prior to getting approval, it has to get a conditional use permit, and it has to get planning, zoning, and city commission approval.
So they could be next door to each other.
Right, it
And I
doesn't,
thought that's what we were trying to avoid, is that we wanted distance and,
yes.
again, not having two, are we calling them ALFs? Or
There's,
congregate living facilities, whatever we want to
yeah,
call them?
community residential homes.
Community residential. Why are we not maintaining that 1,200, not, so we avoid having two next to each other, even if it's so small?
So the statute says that if a minor one exists and a minor one wants to come in, the distance requirement is 1,000. If a minor one exists and a major one wants to come in, that major one has to be 1,200 feet. Our current code, or if a major exists and another major wants to come in, the 1,200 feet. The problem with our code now is that the distance requirement it only lives in the section for minors. The major section right now has no mention, no reference to the statutes, and it doesn't have any reference to the distance. So we're adding the requirements for the special exception in, as well as the distance from the statutes. So there are two distance requirements in statutes.
So two minors will still have to be 1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and they're only going to be going into R3.
The minors can go into any single-family district. The majors can go
Majors
into
can
any,
R3.
the majors can go into R3, which are
Okay.
the multifamily districts.
That's R3 only
Yes,
for the majors.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
No more, anybody else? Need a motion? Item 11.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Brunson. No more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank
Public
you.
hearings, none. Regular agenda. Unsolicited proposal for public-private partnership. Ocoee Law Enforcement Training Center. Assistant City Manager, Chad.
I need to push something. Thank you, Mayor, members of the commission. Craig Shadrick's Assistant City Manager. This item before you is for consideration of action based on the city's receipt of an unsolicited proposal to construct a law enforcement training center for the city. As you all are well aware, the commission allocated $5 million in the fiscal year 22-23 budget. This proposal was made to the city utilizing what's called the P3 statute. It's a state law that was signed into effect in 2013 that created a alternative vehicle for construction of traditional city infrastructure or bona fide, government entities, public entities. And so what that does typically is it allows a different type of financing than is traditional, et cetera. So in order for us to move forward properly in evaluating it under the statute, the commission would need to authorize the city manager to hire a consultant to evaluate the proposal. And this is the good thing about the state law because it makes it like a mandatory RFP, we're required to advertise a minimum of 21 days in the Florida Administrative Weekly and a publication of mass circulation, a minimum of twice in two-week periods. So it gets advertised similar to what an RFP would be, and if anyone else wishes to submit a proposal for this during that time period, then they could do so, and then once those have been received, a consultant hired by the city would evaluate those proposals and make recommendations to the commission, who would then make the decision on how to proceed forward or whether to proceed forward. As you recall, Most of you were sitting up here when we had one before for a fire station, and we elected to not move forward at that time on that particular proposal under the P3. So tonight, what's before you is simply the action to move forward in advertising and then bringing it back to the commission with recommendation of a hired consultant to evaluate the proposal. Yes, sir, that's it. So
I thought you were going with it. That's it, huh?
this is just the very first step in the process, so there's really, it has to come back to the commission, and that's where all the dog and pony show would be the next appointed time. And the commission would then decide whether to move forward on that or not. So we would appreciate staff recommendation of advertising a minimum of 45 days. That gets you double what the statutory requirement minimum is, more than double that. And then we would appreciate in the motion that you authorize City Manager Frank to proceed with securing a consultant to evaluate the proposal.
All right, commissioners, we don't open this public. All right, commissioners,
You want to go
any
first?
comments?
Yeah, well, I don't know about the other members of this commission, but I have not sat down with anyone from the police department regarding this matter to convince me what is needed. We've talked about a range, but I'm in a unique position because I have knowledge of other ranges. And so my question is, we're spending a lot of money on this range. No one has really convinced me that we actually need it. It's a want. We want a range. I get that part. But why are we spending money on a range when surrounding municipalities have ranges? And because I've heard people say that the range can help pay for itself. So if it can help pay for itself, my question is, who are you going to be renting it to if all these other surrounding municipalities already have ranges?
Commissioner, I asked the same questions, and I'll give you my 2-minute or less elevator pitch based on your questions. This has been a topic that's come up over several years here. As you all may recall, we've attempted numerous times to get appropriations from state legislature towards this. The demonstration of need is very clear. We're spending tremendous amounts of money sending our officers for the required training, firearms training and other tactical type training using the Southeast Orange County facility, which is grossly overutilized. So we're competing with lots of other agencies for spots, and it causes us to have to spend more money because of that. So the immediate need for Ocoee extends beyond just simply a close by available training opportunity, which that's going to save a lot of money there. And we're prepared at the next appropriate step, if you proceed forward, to present that because the proposer has done a pro forma. And as the staff report said, this is exempt from public records law under P3. But in addition to that, our community-based policing approach, in light of a lot of the national issues that have plagued the entire nation over the last couple of years, warrant more training on crisis intervention and prevention and things like that. So this is not simply based to get firearms certified and rifle certified. It's got classroom space also, and would open the city up to not only a better trained police force, but also we will be presenting when it comes back to the commission, if you proceed, a minimum of 15 letters of support from other police agencies who are in the same boat that are also having to fight for space at Orange County, and Valencia has one, but you've got a lot of agencies that just don't have a place to go timely, and then that turns into more money spent and then travel time and so on and so forth. So We would recommend that there is a definite need for something like this here. We believe that we can very simply prove using a pro forma that we would save a tremendous amount of money that we are currently expending on our force. And lastly, but not necessarily the most important thing, we believe that we can recover revenue by opening it up to other agencies to receive their training that are in a tighter drive time circle to come here. And we're talking about our regional agencies here around Ocoee, if you draw a circle around Ocoee. So that's my nutshell. I think I went over 2 minutes on that, but I apologize.
That's quite all right. Thank you for that, but I still have additional questions.
Okay.
And I understand what you're saying. Now my question leads me to ask, have we had conversations with surrounding municipalities that you mentioned to go in with us on this range? Because it sounds like it's going to be another regional range.
We have not asked regional agencies to kick in money towards this range. We have asked regional agencies if they would use our range because they would be paying us instead of some other facility. So let's just say, for example, City of Winter Garden. It's a lot cheaper for them to come over and pay us the fair price for the training than it is for them to go to send their people to Southeast Orange County. So those are the conversations that have been had at this point. We wouldn't typically get into those until the commission had decided to, for sure, that it wanted to move forward, and that's after the proposals have been looked at and so on and so forth. But there is a sense of excitement from the other agencies that have provided letters of support to us. Those will be used if we proceed forward in soliciting some state funding also, as it's been brought up a couple of times. I think Commissioner Oliver brought that up during the budget process. We strongly agree that we should be trying to get some state funding for something like this. And we would be preparing to do so if the commission does move forward at a later date.
Right, and I get everything you said. I do. Southeast Orange County has a facility.
Yes,
The west side of Orange County needs a facility.
that's correct.
Why not have a partnership? Would they be open to a partnership is my question. Now, let me ask you this. How much money do we spend annually on training, this type of training you referred to? Do you have that number?
I do not.
This unsolicited proposal, and they're going to assist in drafting the RFP? Is he going to use the information in that to draft the RFP?
No, sir. We received an unsolicited proposal that was made under what's called the P3 statute, okay? So we received that proposal. By making a proposal under the P3 statute, the proposal itself is exempt from public records law. And by law, before we could move forward on that, we have to do a similar advertisement to an RFP. And that's all we're asking tonight is if you want to move forward and advertise for it, give other entities opportunities, having viewed the advertisements, to make a proposal if they wanted to. And then we would have to bring that back to the commission with an evaluation of the different proposals and the costs associated thereof and the financing plans. And then the commission could then decide whether they wanted to move forward or not. So Fortress LLC, who made the proposal, they came to us essentially and said, we'd like to build this. We know you have a need for it. And they made a very detailed proposal to us on building that. However, to be fair, under state law, we have to advertise it. And so that's really what I was here for tonight, was just to see if the commission wanted to move forward in advertising this, and that's all we're asking for at this point.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure that in my mind that when we advertise, should we go to RFP, that we're using whether we hiring a consultant or we using our original thought in determining what the needs and, of our range, you know, and not just, you know, regurgitating what this unsolicited proposal has in it. Because then you find the RFP speaks to that unsolicited proposal. And now it's unfair to anyone else who may respond, or could be. It may be unfair. I'm not saying it's unfair, but it could be unfair if that. So I want to make sure that that does not happen.
If I could, I'd like to try to clarify that. There is no RFP.
Whatever that
Right.
advertising is.
Agreed. There's no details that will be shared of any sort with anybody on the proposal that they've made. And other entities would be open, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but other entities would be allowed to come in and speak with our police staff, which is what Fortress did, prior to making a proposal. Once you've made a proposal, you're not allowed to have any interactions.
Right, and that's understandable.
Which is the case. So hopefully did that address your question there?
It did.
Okay.
But I'm still concerned. I still
I
have
understand.
concerns.
Understand.
Because I'm very familiar with that RFP process or advertising process under the P3 as well.
Yes.
So that was my major concern. I want to make sure I got that on record.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes. I think most of us who've been here for a while know that a range has been in our vision for quite a while. This by no means, if I'm correct, Craig, just clarify that I'm correct. This is not committing anything. This is just advertising it, allowing for potential proposals to come in, and then evaluate after the proposals or no proposals come in. We know we need a range. You build it, they will come. I believe that anyone out in West Orange would rather go here than to go anywhere else further for training. And I think it's a potential moneymaker for us to have that here and a benefit for our officers. So, but again, this is not committing us to anything. This is just allowing this to be advertised for 45 days.
Correct. There's no risk at this point.
Nothing, just the cost of advertising. I have no problem with that.
Commissioner Fershman.
Will the consultant also provide us with a revenue projection as part of this project?
Yes. They will conduct a detailed analysis, and they will look at the market, and there will be, I'm loosely using the term pro forma, but a fiscal or financial analysis of the cost of operations and the cost of providing the training to other entities and projected revenues based on letters of support and interactions with those agencies.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Oliver.
In the interest of clarity, I've heard several terms being used. You used training facility. Commissioner Brinson used the word firing range. So let's clarify exactly what we're talking about. Are we talking about a indoor-outdoor firing range, or are we talking about a complete training facility where you have a brick-and-mortar building, which would include a indoor firing range, but other training aspects to the building, maybe a two-story building that deals with classrooms and those kind of things? So give me some clarification. Are we talking about a training facility, or are we talking about a firing range?
Yes, sir. It's a training facility. And even going back to some of the appropriation forms that we filled out and we've worked with our legislative delegation on, Randolph Bracey, Camilla Brown, supported those in the past. And it's always been referred to as a law enforcement training facility. That did include a gun range and a firearm, handgun range, and firearm rifle range, in addition to classroom space for conducting actual practicum-based classes for things such as crisis intervention, et cetera. So it would be a classroom facility and would also contain the shooting facilities necessary to avoid the cost of having to go somewhere else.
So would this be, during the budgeting workshops, I mentioned a fire range, it's actually a training facility as well. Are we talking about similar to the one that's done in the city of Edgewater in Volusia County? The one I presented, I think I hope I gave that to the clerk for public record. But nonetheless, are we talking something similar to that? Because they had a full training facility with an outdoor firing range, indoor, as well as classrooms and things of that nature.
What we are contemplating to this point is beyond what Edgewater's facility was considerably. It would be all enclosed indoors, and there wouldn't be an outdoor portion of it, at least in what we have always talked about with the police department and other entities. There's been talk in years past about having a driving facility, et cetera, but we have a very nice arrangement right now with the Mannheim Auto Auction. And so this facility would be a state-of-the-art training facility indoor, which would include the firearm training and classroom space. And it would, because of that nature, there's a lot of environmental considerations with the design of an indoor facility like that. A lot of the expense is in air filtration systems and cleansing systems necessary to meet not only OSHA standards but EPA standards as well because of the nature of the ammunition. But having looked at, I did see something that was provided to us during the budget about Edgewater. Having had all the discussions or been part of those, this is bigger and more elaborate than that, and designed to host a wider range of training than that one.
Okay. I know, just for clarification's sake, I know that and this is for the record, please, that the city of Edgewater, along with the help of the state of Florida, they received $750,000 to build their facility, which at the time, which is just last year, was considered a state-of-the-art facility at that time. So again, they were talking about upping one and doing something a little more extravagant than what they're doing. I remember years ago we started talking about this. This was we have a firing range outside near near the park here, and you can hear you hear them training every now and then, and you get the phone calls and say, I hear gunfire. Yes. And the conversation was, we need a firing range, an indoor firing range. So we have went from an indoor firing range to now we want to build this massive training facility for our police officers for West Orange County. That's what I'm hearing, right? We want to make sure that we want to be able to capitalize on this type of facility that the other law enforcement agencies in other municipalities in West Orange County can utilize this facility. And I do understand, Commissioner Wilson, we're just only asking for permission to just put a RFP out there to see what other companies can offer us or partner with us in this particular project. What would a footprint, this building you're talking about, and the reason I'm asking these questions is because I'm of the mindset of Commissioner Brinson, because again, I want to know what we're talking about. Even before we put an RFP out there, I would like to know what are we talking about? What does this footprint look like? Do we have to purchase more land? Do we own the land? So I need answers to those questions, even before we put an RFP out there.
I'm prepared to answer some of those questions. The city owns properties that are adequately in place to have a facility like that. In the Crown Point PUD that we jointly purchased with the school board, we have parcels in there there is a parcel in there that was designated for public safety. So we would not be in it for land costs. It's at the corner of Fuller's Cross Road and Ocoee Popker Road. It's a little west of the intersection, the one that was designated public safety. We have one across the street on Fuller's Cross from that as well. So there are a number of properties that would lend themselves to that the city owns. So that was always our in-kind contribution when seeking state funding, was the land, without having to throw a lot of cash in, because land values continue to go up. And that would be a part of it, as well as the $5 million that the commission has invested or appropriated in the budget. Speaking back on the Edgewater facility, and perhaps I didn't see all of it, but there was a couple of pictures that I believe the police chief had circulated to the city manager's office. And that's a facility that looked like a mostly outdoor facility, and basically a structure placed over something like what we already have. So this facility, we were anticipating it as a revenue based opportunity, and an opportunity to actually bring people in from outside the city as well, who would come to the training. So that there is an economic element to that as well. But just on the sheer numbers that we've looked at conservatively, we feel like whatever the delta would be between the $5 million and what it would actually cost would easily be paid off in a very rapid amount of time, based on current prices for training courses and things like that. And that's all material that would be presented to you after the solicitation had closed for additional proposals. Then, you know, the consultant can come in and you can make your decision on go or no go. They can present their detailed pro forma, and our consultant can actually verify or deny it. So that's really, again, what we're going for.
You just mentioned that you put the $5 million out there. So you're anticipating that this type of facility will cost upwards or more than $5 million?
I think it will, just based on the city hall itself and cost. So if you're talking something that was on the lines of 20,000 square feet, which I don't know, the proposer is here. I'm trying to be conscientious in terms of getting into details on a proposal that's not subject to public record. But if they don't have a problem, the proposer is here. I have no problem with them coming up and answering some generic questions, provided the city attorney is okay with that. Scott?
Yeah, up to them if they want to come forward. If they want to come forward and answer questions, that's fine. If they don't, that's also fine. We are here for just a limited. I mean, this wasn't intended to get a big discussion on this. This was just kind of the first stage. Really, just get the city commission's approval to move forward, hire a consultant, and get it advertised. But if the proposer wants to answer questions, I have no issue with that.
I do have one last question, though. So if they want to answer it, that's fine. If you want to take this, that's fine. So we talk about public-private partnerships, and which means that in this type of partnership, there's skin in the game on both sides. So the city has some skin in the game, which we own some land. And you have a private entity coming in to bring something to the table by way of, I think you mentioned consulting. Are there any, what kind of skin in the game would they have in this? When you talk about public-private partnerships, are they bringing funding to the table while we bring land, or what does this look like?
Okay, let me be very clear for the audience and the commission. When we use the word public-private partnership a lot to mean a lot of different things. Under the statute, the public-private partnership is a secondary vehicle to creating capital infrastructure for a local government, okay? So it does not necessarily connotate skin in the game. It offers another mechanism of financing in most cases. And that is typically what I've seen in looking at other P3s under the statute. So the skin in the game is a more streamlined process. Typically, developers that put those out, proposals out, have a well-oiled machine in terms of construction costs. Fortress, has a pretty big network, so their skin in the game is a streamlined process and a financing mechanism that's not traditional. So if we wanted to do a bond or something like that, it's shown differently as debt, and it's shown differently in the city taxation than if we did a loan or a lease under the P3. And so most local governments that take advantage of a P3 under the statute That's the skin in the game. That's the advantage of it. It's really no different from, it's an alternative to going to a design build, but the advertisements, the public process is very similar. So it's not necessarily, obviously a developers, they would benefit if they financed it for us, and they would also benefit based on the construction. But the flip side to that, which I wanted to be very clear about in distinguishing this from a traditional P3, in other words, if somebody just approached us and say, hey, we'd like to partner with you to, build something down on the lakefront, is that we hire a consultant that's going to evaluate this, and this is kind of what happened with the fire station before. The consultant came back and said, you guys could build it for yourselves for the same price that they're building it for, okay? And at that time, the commission decided not to move forward. However, our consultant that we hire under this comes back and chops everything up. And if it's not a good deal, then they recommend directly to staff, who then recommends directly to you. We don't recommend moving forward with this proposal at this time. And if, like I said, under the advertisement, if there are additional proposals that are received, then the consultant that we hire will evaluate them using the same scrutiny, and they'll all be presented to the city commission.
Is that it?
Is it?
All right, I'm not going to prolong it. I'm in favor of just looking at it and approving staff to go ahead and proceed. So one good thing about that is when you're looking at the cost, figure out the cost of what it costs to send our officers out of town to train.
We will have all that.
In the part where they have to take time off, and we need them on the street, stuff like that. So that would be something to look at. All right, I need a motion to just put this forward, just to let the staff finish doing the proposal.
I make a motion for item 12.
Yes, sir.
Per staff recommendation.
Per staff's
Per
recommendation.
staff recommendation.
Second that?
Motion made by Commissioner Brunson, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. That's it. Any more comments? Not, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Guys. Thank you. All right, I'm going to take just a couple of minutes to read something here that was brought up earlier. On our speaking reservation forms, nothing's changed since these were put into effect back in 2003. Following time limits to speak are in effect. Public hearings, petitioner presentation, they get 15 minutes. Citizen comments and a public hearing, 5 minutes per speaker. Petitioner rebuttal, 5 minutes open to the public. Citizens comments, 3 minutes per speaker per meeting. All right, City of Ocoee Civility Code adopted July the 1st, 2003. Pursuant to resolution number 2003-16 adopted on July the 1st, 2003. The following civility code shall govern all proceedings before the City of Ocoee City Commission and boards. First, all electronic devices, including cell phones and pagers, shall be either turned off or otherwise silenced. Prolonged conversations shall be conducted outside commission chambers. Clapping, whistling, heckling, gesturing, loud conversations, or other disruptive behavior is prohibited. Only those individuals who have submitted speaker forms and who have been recognized by the mayor or chair may address comments to the commission or board. Comments at public hearings shall be limited to the subject being considered by the commission. Comments at citizens' comments shall be directed to the city issues. All public comments shall avoid personal attacks, abusive language, and redundancy. No person attending a commission or board meeting is to harass, ignore, annoy, or otherwise disturb any other person in the room. Any member of the public whose behavior is disruptive and violates the City of Ocoee Civility Code is subject to removal from the commission or board meeting by an officer and such other action as may be appropriate. I just want to make sure, because I don't know if a lot of people read them, they wonder what the time limits are, so I'm giving it to you. So as you come up here, unless it's under the public hearing, it's 3 minutes. All right, we're going to move on to item number 13, discussion and direction on the reorganization of the Human Relations and Diversity Board. All right, commissioners. Discussion. And then I have some people that want to talk. You want them to talk first?
Whichever you choose.
All right, I'll call them up. All right. Kenneth Thompson.
Good evening. I'm a citizen. And resident of Ocoee. After 22 years in service, my family and I opt to come right back to the city where my family was ran out of, property burned, or taken, or seized, and July Perry was actually hung. When I heard about the diversity board, I thought this was an extreme moment of reckoning, of bringing something that was covered to bring about an uncovering of a well-hidden catastrophe here in Ocoee, which my family was involved. You say, well, man, when will this thing ever be over? And I can hear that in your mind's eye, in your mind's ear. I'm tired of it. Well, when I pass by spots that now house industry, productive businesses, and I know that's part of my heritage, inheritance. I wonder, the city is making tremendous amount of money, tax revenues, building projects. And I said, how long did the Holocaust retribution take? The Germans are now paying 5 billion Deutschmarks. They're still paying to this day to the Holocaust victims. The Japanese, $3.5 billion. They're still. How long does the pain that exists in the family heritage last? Well, it wasn't me. I know, I understand that. Was it my grandmama? Was it my great-grandfather? Was it me? That was my great-grandmother and grandfather. And the property belonged to us.
Mr. Thompson, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds.
Okay.
3 minutes is up.
All right.
10 seconds.
I'm through. That's how long. That's how long. I spent 22 years in the service, and we had a cliche. If it not broke, don't fix it. This heritage, this board is just an achievement of this city. Don't reorganize. That's just a code word to get rid of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad Lomnick. Remember, 3 minutes.
Brad Lomnick, Veronica Place, also on the HRDB board. Commissioner Mayor, I want to give a big thanks to the pastors and the volunteers of High Point Church. They put an amazing dinner and candlelight procession together for the Ocoee Remembers event. I've said this from the beginning, since I've started on that board, that we need to remember. We need to do that every year. The Descendants Dinner, which I got to go to this year, was amazing. They gave this beautiful painting to all the descendants. The church did that. They put a lot of things together. I'd like to take a few minutes to give my opinion about the status of the HRDB board. Lately, I've heard that the HRDB has attracted unsavory characters whose violent behavior have put the health and safety of board members at risk. And then today I watch a video on YouTube that was filmed in front of the city logo in the commission chambers by Commissioner Oliver, pointing out myself by name and another board member of the HRDB board as the center of these issues. My comment would be Commissioner Oliver remarks about my character and his misrepresentation of the truth. He is spreading false and disparaging comments about me that has harmed my standing in the community and the way that my family and friends think about the way I handle myself as a volunteer. And he did that with the backing of City Hall behind him. I am not a politician. I'm not a commissioner. I've not been voted in and elected at any office. I'm a citizen and a volunteer. He has been elected. He is in the zeitgeist. I am not. You know, I volunteer for a lot of things in this city. Let me share a few points with the commission and the citizens of Ocoee. I've been on the HRDB since January of 2022. Since February, I've been championing all diversity in the city of Ocoee. The mission of this board is not to serve a select group of citizens, but all the citizens of Ocoee. In February, I commented on how much time we spent talking about the Ocoee Remembers. It would be hours every night. And then we'd spent no time on any other diversities. I asked that we focus on the entire city. And in that month, I said we needed to come up with an Asian American deal and also a Spanish heritage. In March, we've spoke about the Unity Park, which I went to the Parks and Rec Board and asked for that to be made. I asked for that recommendation. In May, I asked for the subcommittee to be disbanded since we had already picked a planner for the Ocoee Remembers event. I said the entire board needed to be aware of the work that was being done and the cost of that work. I've also, in many months, have asked for each member to come up with a month of diversity
You have
to
10
champion.
seconds. 10 seconds.
I was asked for each member to pick a month. Only 4 members wanted to. I was told they did not need to volunteer. So, you know, they can say whatever they want to about me. I've been very consistent about we're not spending thousands and hundreds of dollars on these events with no sponsorship and nothing of that nature. We need to remember, it's absolutely important. The church has done an amazing job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Scott Kennedy.
This one? This one here? Thank you, Commissioners. My name's Scott Kennedy. I also serve on the HRDB, among other boards, and I'm on the subcommittee for Ocoee Remembers. I'm going to disagree with Mr. Thompson, although I thought the event was great, and I think the Ocoee Remembers event is very important. The first HRDB meeting I attended, a gentleman came and asked for $5,000 for a cultural event that he was a member of. And he was told, we don't have money, we don't have time, we don't have volunteers for that. And as soon as he left the room, we started a conversation about $125,000 for a statue. I think he was asking for $5,000. Was it $5,000 you wanted? Maybe it was 10. And we're still talking about maybe, possibly, we might, it kind of feels like just to make it look good, we might work with that gentleman on his cultural event in the next year. The HRDB, as it stands, is a disaster. It's disorganized. I've had discussions with people that diversity doesn't mean groupthink, and unity doesn't mean uniformity of opinion. The whole point of diversity, most of the people on the diversity board have no idea what diversity is, actually. They're not there to serve diversity. They're there to serve the personal political interest of our liaison, who, as I'm going to reiterate, I hope this commission will do their job and investigate how our event was hijacked and how what our board voted for $33,000 became $60,000. And where that money went. And I certainly hope that happens soon. I've also advocated, when I was attacked, and I know I'm not going to address certain comments, there's been no violence, there's been no fisticuffs. I've seen 4 heated arguments. Commissioner Oliver was one of the parties in 3 of those arguments. I was the party in one of those arguments. And what I was attacked for was advocating for a Jewish American Heritage Month, basically. That's what started the argument. If you're not there solely for July Perry, you're attacked. And that's why what Brad and other members have asked since the work of the West Orange Reconciliation Task Force was so successful, culminating in 2020, that the Ocoee Remembers event be set outside of the HRDB, that the event be run by the commission. That's what was asked, not to end it. And I think what we see here with the budget is an example of what's happened. There's not a will to work on diversity. There's not people skilled in diversity. I think you should reorganize it. I think you should make it smaller. And I think you should require that people are residents of the city and that they have some sort of training, education, or demonstrated background in serving the cause of diversity, not serving the political wishes of one person. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. All right. Now, that's it. We're going to get to doing the discussion of number 13, discussion and direction as reorganization of the Human Relations Diversity Board.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me.
Well, all right, somebody, can you grab that melon? Just, she'll get it from you. Go ahead up to the podium, Mr. Moyer. One more.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Jim Moyer, Arden Park. I'm a former member of the Human Relations Diversity Board, and I've attended most of the meetings. I'm an auditor and accountant by profession. Most of my audits in the early days was compliance audits. I am not going to stand here and say anything negative about anyone. Is this fading out? Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
I'm not going to stand here and say anything negative about anyone. The board as a whole is not complying with its direction, its purpose. And I don't know who in the city, whether it's commission, maybe a staff liaison, I don't know who can make sure that the board focuses on its purpose and mission. But that's what I humbly believe is of paramount importance. I love the city of Ocoee. I love human relations, and I spent the majority of my life advocating for that. I support everyone here. I love everyone, and I just hope we can work something out that's amicable to everyone. Thank you for the time, and God bless you all.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Moore.
Thank you.
All right, that was it. All right. Now we gotta get into the discussion here, what direction we're gonna take for reorganization, Human Relations Diversity Board. Sorry, all right, sorry. Now we're gonna get into the, discussing the direction on the reorganization of the Human Relations Diversity Board, HRDB. I will, who's going to start? Well, I'll make a quick comment. I know there was some emails or stuff sent today. The emails that were sent out the day I got, I've turned them into the city to go on public record with the city. But it was also, like I said, it was a thing I watched today about asking people to come out because we understand nobody's doing away with the board. Nobody. We're just going to fix the board where it needs to be with the representation done through the districts like it ought to be. The other thing is, just think about it. We're the only city with a diversity board. Then you keep hacking at us. We're the only city with a diversity board that tries to do this. And diversity means all people, all people. And I think there'd be some people in the Indians and a few other ones will be upset about things too. And I believe, I don't have any thought process of why anybody does things like that. Never. But I will tell you that if you would have been there Saturday night, not all the people were there that's on the diversity board. Saturday night was a great opportunity for you to meet the descendants, which we have been trying to do ever since we started this 3 years ago to get the descendants, and it's the same amount of people. That hall was half empty, but the people that were there Saturday night and Sunday the same way all respected what the church and the city were doing to try to do what we did. And those people enjoyed what we did, and they made good comments, and they enjoyed it, and they seen that we are truly trying to make it a place for them to know that this is their home also. All right, commissioners, now's the time. Let's figure out what we're going to do.
Well, I'm going to start because I'm the one that made the motion that's to consider reorganizing. I think we all know what reorganizing means. There's been a lot of rumors saying that we want to disband.
Nope.
There's a difference between disband and disorganize. And to reorganize. And I don't believe, Mr. Thompson, that we ever want to forget our history in Ocoee. And that's where I feel it's an education process for us. I think the concern I have, it's not that I think, I know the concern I have, is HRDV board healthy? No, today I sat and listened to at least half. I couldn't listen to the other half. It was probably 3 hours long, and it was just frustrating to listen to that last meeting that went on. And yes, I did hear, I believe as a liaison that you don't come out and speak. We are there to let the board run. I heard Mr. Oliver quite a bit talk. And I feel it's the group that needs to talk, the advisory board. And it's not that we're saying, not that I'm saying we should get rid of the HRDB. I say we should reorganize. And it brings me to something that I guess I'm going to say truth is subjective, using Commissioner Oliver's terms that were discussed last meeting. Because after listening to the HRDV board for quite a bit, and for the 14-minute video that Mr. Oliver put on YouTube, I'm not advocating go watching it because I really don't like to see how many people watched it. But it's there. And I think we deviated from what we actually want to do. Reorganizing is coming in and changing it so that maybe it'll be more productive. But when I watch this video asking you to come tonight, I personally get offended. I got pissed off, for the lack of a better word. Yeah, I was. Because, first of all, he called the chairperson a liar. Now, when I listened to the video, she said she didn't vote. He said she's a liar. Well, then no one else in the group said she was a liar. To me, that's a strong word. I don't think we should call someone a liar. That's not healthy. No, it's not. Then, saying that the mayor and I are working behind the scenes. Oh, hell no. Sorry, my mouth is coming out now. Because behind the scenes means to me that we're doing a little backroom politics. If anyone knows me, We don't do that here. I don't do that here. I'm the first one to talk to you about sunshine law. Am I correct?
You're
Anybody want to
correct.
disagree with me?
Yeah.
Sunshine law means you don't talk in the back room. You only talk here. And if the mayor and I are having conversations, let's say he gave me some directions to Gainesville last week. Okay, is that backroom politics? No. We don't discuss those things. As I've told commissioners here, that the most you talk about is how's the family and how's the weather. Okay, so that just insults me. Putting this video out and insulting me, who does not do that. It's just, this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about reorganizing a board. We're not talking about me having backroom politics. There's something wrong here. And I'm so offended by that. It just burned me today. It was insulting, lacking accuracy. I'm ashamed of that video. And I'm ashamed that it was done in front of this right here. I want to know how it was done. I don't think, did the city manager know that someone was that Commissioner Oliver was in the board, in the commission chamber videoing something? I feel as though these things should go through us. We are given time at the end of a meeting to do that. That is advertised. That you can have, 15 minutes to speak, or 10 minutes, uninterrupted, without us here if you don't want to have us here. But that now is taped here. It looks like we presented that. I think that's going to have to be addressed later myself. But, let's see, I'm sorry, I wrote some, I just feel very divisive, excuse me. And I don't feel that's the reason we're bringing this subject up tonight. It's not to say that we don't have to, we should not be interested in our history. We should be. But it is to make a board healthy. And that board that I listened to today was not healthy, in my opinion. And anyone wants to listen to it, it was, I've been on boards before being a commissioner. I was probably on 5 or 6 boards. This never happened. They should, as Ms. Hart said at the end, it should be fun. You should be enjoying what you're doing. That was not fun. It wasn't fun listening to it. I don't know if anyone wants to listen to it. I would tell you not to. But I've heard things like we want to shut them down. We don't want to shut the HRDB board down. We want to make it healthy. We want to make it productive. We want to make it something that our community is proud of, and for our community that wants to come out and go to these functions. Did everyone go to the Sunday night function? Okay, raise your hand. We want to make that a healthy function for the community to come out and enjoy. We want all of that, but it's not coming from a healthy board. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to ramble because I'm just annoyed. I really was personally insulted when I listened to that video. Personally insulted. Because anyone who knows me knows that's not true. I make a point not to be around other commissioners just because of that. You go to a function, you'll watch me out there talking to people and not standing in a group with anyone here. I make a point to do that. And then, you know, I just feel as though if we're going to spout Bible verses, we should live that. And that wasn't.
Amen.
That wasn't what I heard, was not creating that healthy and that Christian attitude you want to have. This is my opinion. It was not. It was destructive, and I was ashamed. I may have more to say, but sorry, I keep going on. And it's not helping the community to unify by any means. So I know I brought a little personal part in there, but I stand firmly by that, and I really am, when I'm attacked like that, I am insulted. And I don't think, Mayor, if I talk to you about anything, if I make a point not to talk to you?
No. I will tell you, 37 years, you're the one that always keeps to yourself. Always.
So, again, I do not want to disband. I want to reorganize to make a healthy board and something that we're proud of, and the members on it are proud to be on it, and not spending 3 hours arguing. I couldn't take any more than, half of it, and I had to shut it down. And I think that when I listened to Ms. Hart at the end, she summed it up very nicely. It's not fun, and it should be. I love to go to the boards. I loved when I was on the boards, because you'd come out and you had friends that were there, new friends, and you discuss things, and, not with them, you could discuss it in the meeting. But you had folks that had a similar interest and the same direction, and they wanted to volunteer. And it was sad to me when I heard that no one wanted to volunteer. I heard that they had to get other people, they couldn't get volunteers. A board is there to volunteer. A board is there, put your time in, enjoy being with your other members and accomplishing a task. But when you say that we couldn't get volunteers, that board has 15 members on it, and you couldn't get a volunteer, that's pretty sad. Thank you.
Commissioner Brinson.
I want to go last.
Huh?
I want to go last.
Everybody wants to go last. Mr. Brinson.
If I must, there's a lot to unpack here. The HRDB is in disarray. I think everyone here knows that. I've heard in this commission chambers that the HRDB doesn't have leadership on it. I've heard that the HRDB is not fun. I've heard that the HRDB doesn't really go towards its objective. Did the mayor just walk out?
Yes, he did. He didn't want to hear you. He can hear in the back room, I think. Hopefully. You want to wait till he comes back?
No, please continue.
I've heard that the HRDB is, only talks about one thing, or two things, really. The MLK Day and the essay contest. But I submit to you that that's a leadership problem. Running a board, being in charge of a board or commission or subcommittee is about leadership. If you cannot get people to volunteer for the events that you put on, that's a leadership problem. And it's not just up to the chair. Every person in there should deem themselves a leader. And if they're not, that's fine, because we all need followers too. We all need some workers. But leadership is something that if you accept the chair, the position of chairperson on a board, you accept all that goes with it. All of it. Not some of it, not the good days, but the good days, the bad days, the sunny days, and the rainy days. Leadership is not a popularity contest. You're not there to make friends. You're there to address whatever your goal is and try to achieve it. And it sets me back when I hear people say that the board needs to be reorganized. I don't think the board needs to be reorganized. I think the members of the board who are in leadership positions need to discharge their duties accordingly. And if they cannot or will not do that, then the board needs to bring that to the attention of this commission, and we get rid of that chairperson. Leadership, I sit on my hands often, and I bite my tongue often here, because I see and hear things that just doesn't make sense to me. We talking about the paying homage to High Point Church, but no one really is talking about Saturday's event that was pretty awesome. It was pretty awesome. We talking about what High Point Church did, which they did a fabulous job. I was there. And Saturday evening, I was kind of tired being in the sun all day, but I was there because that's what leaders do. But as I look out in the gallery right now, I only see a few members of the Human Relations Diversity Board. Where's the acting chair or the chair-elect, or where are the other members? It's the same members that come to this meeting from the HRDB every time we meet. Every now and then we get another one straggling in here. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Being a volunteer and being a member of a volunteer board is two different things. They are not the same. If you want to volunteer, you can volunteer anywhere in the city on any board whatsoever. But being a member of a volunteer board means you're supposed to roll up your sleeves and go to work. And that means volunteering for the event that you're putting on. So it's uncanny when I'm hearing that you can't get volunteers. But to me, that's a leadership problem. That's not a volunteer problem. You need to address that accordingly with the people who sit on that board. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's that leadership that someone instilled in me years ago. But you got to get people to be able to do what you need them to do and have fun doing it. If this video that y'all referring to is out there, every member of the HRDB should be sitting in this gallery right now. Every last one of them. I don't know if they've seen it. I don't know. But the question is reorganization or replacement. It's my contention that the board doesn't need to be reorganized. I think the leaders need to be leaders. Lead. If you want to be in a position, lead. And if you're there just to be a disruptor, which some people have said in this commission chamber, that I was there to be a disruptor, so I'm a disruptor, which is on the record. I don't mind being people who are disruptors. That's how things sometimes gets changed. But what's your end game? What's your desired result of being a disruptor? Because I too am a disruptor. I did a lot of disrupting in my corporate career, and it made me successful in it. But just being a disruptor just to be for the sake of disrupting doesn't make much sense to me, and that's just me. Leadership on boards, I mean, I too go to boards, and I've sat in P&Z boards, and I sit on the police board, and the police board I'm like that far from saying we need a reorganization for the police board because we can't get them to convene every other month. But I'm not the leader of that board. I'm not the chair. I'm just a liaison. I tell the chair, you need to do this, but it's up to them to do that. But if the chair doesn't do that, then the board has got to say, we need a new chair. And then we can bring that before the commission and get a new chair. That's leadership. You can't be afraid of stepping on people's toes when you're in a leadership position, because leadership is not a popularity contest. And as far as if there was a video shot in this what do you call this? Chamber. That's right, chamber. It was shot here. Whether or not someone likes it, there's no rule against it. There was video shot when I first got here, and I sat on the HRDB board. There's video shot outside of City Hall, calling people outside agitators. I don't do that. I normally don't put people, at least I don't think I do, put the city staff or anybody on blast in public. I try to talk to them behind the scenes. And the reason why, because I live by the adage, you praise in public and you punish in private. That makes sense to me until such point when my private praising, you're not listening, now I got to put you on blast on the record. And I just don't understand how this board is gotten so off track. It is not him. It is you also. Stop pointing the fingers at other people. If you sit on that board, you too are a problem with the board. Stop telling people, stop talking while I'm talking. If you are a member of that board and your efforts are not trying to make that board get back on track, you're part of the problem. That's life. That's a life lesson. Shoot, I should write that down. Preach, Larry. I should write that down. That sounds good. Man. Unity Day Festival was a good festival. It was, by all accounts. It may not have been to some people's liking, but the people who came enjoyed it. And I think we should make sure that we do that every year. Just like we honor all kinds of other stuff every year, we should do that every year. I thank all the Brads and the Scotts and the Jays and everyone else, Mr. Moyer, who volunteered in the city boards, because we need volunteers on these city boards to make our city a better place. We need that. We have to have that. So I thank you for that. As far as diversity, and I get it. Not everybody understands diversity, not everybody understands inclusion. There's a difference between the two. But maybe that's classes that we need to provide to a board, especially a board such as the Human Relations and Diversity Board. We need those classes. We need to make sure that people understand how to run a board. The mayor knows how to run a meeting because he follows what we call Robert's Rules of Order. If a board, and I've been in some boards, to include P&Z, I just watched it on TV recently because I heard something happen. I was like, oh, the P&Z had to be drawn back in by the planning manager because they was getting off track. All boards get off track at some point, but somebody's got to take the position of getting them back on track. That's called leadership. I'm gonna keep saying leadership because you're not a supervisor. As a chairperson, you're not a manager. You are a leader. All leaders are managers, but not all managers are leaders. But if you're in a leadership position, then lead. And if you can't lead, get out the way. And you need to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I doing this board? Am I doing the commission? Am I doing the city? Am I doing the residents justice by staying in this position if I'm not discharging these duties accordingly? And that's just, it's beyond me that we're having this conversation about the HRDB. It's because I just think it's a leadership problem. Now, I'm gonna finish on that. I'm done with that because that's just, is Steve Krug still here?
I doubt it. He's not back in the back.
Oh, he's not?
But I'll look.
Director Krug, going once, going twice, going thrice. If he's there, I want to, hey, Director.
Yes, sir.
I want to make sure that, I know we briefly spoke earlier about sidewalks.
Yes,
And
sir.
if you can address that, because I know that wasn't on the agenda.
At this point,
Commissioner?
or?
We are on an agenda item right now. This is not.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll be here to address that.
Don't leave.
I'll be around.
My bad. So, the organization on this board, on any board, I think training needs to happen, and not just something we hand someone a packet of rules and regulations and think they're gonna read them and adhere to them. I think we need to have some type of, what's the word I'm looking for, Commissioner? Filter, maybe? To make sure that the members of the board, once they become full-fledged members and see the right hand of fellowship, they can discharge their duties accordingly. That's all I have.
Commissioner Auburn.
So you've heard my name several times during this meeting. You've heard them mention several things that I took part in, videos, filming a video here in the dais, which is, there was no rules against it. And all these things you've heard. Really? I heard that too. But your truth is subjective. So anyway, as I was stating before, I stand behind my faith. I've heard my faith challenged on this very dais. I stand behind my faith 100%, from the protections of Psalms 91 to every other protection that God has given me in his word. And I believe it to be true, and I stand on it right here on this dais. I stand on it, everything that I do and that I say. Unfortunately, when we say things, some people take offense, and that's okay. It's okay, because everyone's not going to agree with everything you say, and everyone's not going to agree with everything that I say. But I'll stand on what I say. That video you've heard mentioned that I did a video. Yes, I did. So you know what? I will publicize that video and make it public. And if you want to hear what I said In every word, every context, every inflection that I said it in, I'm going to post that video for you to listen to it. And then I want you to think about what you heard here. And then I want you to put it to the test to see if what I'm saying is true or does it line up with what you heard here on this dais. I'm willing to guarantee you that some of the things you said that was said on this dais don't line up with what I said on that video. I'm willing to put it all out there because I stand on everything that I said. Unfortunately, when folks speak the truth, it makes some people uncomfortable. Well, as Commissioner Benson said, sometimes leadership is not a popular role, and you have to do things that make people uncomfortable. If it wasn't for our founding fathers feeling uncomfortable or upset or angry, we wouldn't be sitting here today. We'd be somewhere speaking the Queen's English and probably waiting on high tea tomorrow. But we're here. We're here because someone had the audacity to get mad, to speak the truth, to take action. And that's exactly what I did in that video. I pointed out some things that had happened over the course of 1 year, almost a year. And I documented them. And I pointed out facts and truth. And unfortunately, I had to, not even unfortunately, I had to put folks' names out there because I needed people to understand what was really going on. Folks sit up here and they'll say all kind of things, but their actions are different. Their actions are proving something different. I sit here and I watch folks' actions. I hear the words, but then I watch the actions. I deal with the city staff. I have meetings. I talk to the staff. I see what goes on. I watch the agenda, and I see how things progress, and I see agendas, all kind of agendas. When it comes to the HRDB, I saw an agenda because we had an event in November of 2021 that was successful. It was pulled off in 30 days. It was very successful, and everyone was happy. It was the beginning of a unity festival. And then in December, I watched the event planner come to the HRDB meeting and present a recap of what happened the month before. Then she committed to move forward to the following year to make a commitment to make this year's event a good event. And then January and February hit, and there was new members on the board. Those new members wreaked havoc. From that point forward, it brought us to this moment right here. We mentioned the word divisive. Well, that was a divisive scheme to get rid of this board. So you can call it reorganizing, reconstructing, whatever it is. What it is, it's designed to push an agenda. We have several boards in this city. Not one of those boards that a member has come forth and started undermining that board in this commission. But yet and still, we have 2 members of that board that constantly comes to this dais. They're constantly coming here presenting things that are some not so true, some true. But nonetheless, they're presenting something that causes us to feel that there is disarray on a board. We don't have any other boards that's doing that. Not one other board is doing that. So ask yourself this. Why this board? Why? Why are we here? This board, matter of fact, let me read something to you. I'm going to read something to you. The Human Relations Diversity Board has a mission. The general mission of the Human Relations Diversity Board is to promote understanding, respect, goodwill, equality amongst all citizens and businesses of the city of Ocoee. Promote understanding. We wasn't getting that in the HRDB meetings. There was no understanding because they were too busy trying to put forth roadblocks for different things that's trying to happen. In that same HRDB board, I brought the Hispanic Chamber because we were talking about culturally diverse events. They came and did a complete presentation for that board, and they sat there, and they watched, and they said nothing. No feedback, no action, nothing happened as a result of that. Mr. Singh, who's sitting back there in the back right now, who does Indian cultural events, has come to that board several times, has come before this commission several times over several years to present something, a cultural event in this city, and not once have anyone partnered with him yet. And it's been years. And this man brings tens of thousands of people to events, cultural events. And not one person has had the courage to grab him by the hand and say, we will help you in this city. Not once has it happened. So we sit up and talk about cultural diversity, and the man comes before us many times, and we do nothing. So sometimes someone has to stand up, and someone has to speak up, even if it's going to make other people uncomfortable. And that's the role that I've taken. It makes folks uncomfortable. Guess what? It makes me uncomfortable too sometimes to say some of the things that needs to be said. But guess what? I stand on my faith, and I say what needs to be said, and I stand on it. Before, I stand on it now, and I'll stand on it tomorrow. So you can challenge it all you want to. And that's okay, though, because I know who I belong to. I know who I have to answer to at the end of the day. I know those things, and I stand behind them. So as far as this board being reorganized, it doesn't need to be reorganized. There are several. We talked about fisticuffs. Yes, I did mention that two members came to close to fisticuffs to the point where another member had to come before this commission because she feared for her safety. That's a problem. That's not a problem with the other 13 members of that board. It's a problem with two members that caused a commotion that came to almost fisticuffs that caused another member to fear for their safety. We need to attack, or we need to handle or address the issue. Don't punish a board of members that's there to do the heavy lifting. We do have members that actually really want to do the work. So we can say all the things about volunteers. We have volunteers on the Saturday event. Everyone that came up before us today from the Human Diversity and Diversity Board, along with the mayor and Commissioner Wilson, the only thing they talked about was the Saturday night and the Sunday event. But then they had the audacity, out of the same voice, to say the word unity. Because if you're talking about unity, you would have also mentioned and came to the Saturday event. I was at every event. I was at every event. Yes, you was. And thank you. You volunteered and you were there. And I thank you for that. But don't mention to me about anything about unity when you wasn't at every event. That doesn't show any unity, and it certainly doesn't show any leadership at all. We shouldn't even be having this conversation on this topic. If you listen to what I just read, we shouldn't even be having this conversation, because this board is about understanding. It's about respect. It's about goodwill towards each other, toward all of us. It's not about people having hidden agendas and trying to control things from behind the scenes and calling people early in the morning and trying them to get to do things according to their agendas. It's not about that. And we shouldn't be doing that anyway. It shouldn't happen. But it has been happening. And it's important that you know, as citizens of Ocoee, the things that happen in our city behind the scenes. Because we have the audacity to say things up here. We can give all kind of lip service up here, but behind the scenes, there's other things that's going on. Divisive things that's going on. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that we need to address the members' bad behavior. If anything, suspend the board, bring in HR, do an investigation according to how we should conduct business as far as human relations is concerned, and bring a recommendation back to say, was those members out of order for doing the things that they were doing on that board? That member should never have felt uncomfortable to the point where she felt for her safety. Should have never felt like that at all. and that needs to be addressed. And it didn't happen between the other 13 members, it was 2 members. That needs to be addressed. Those members should be addressed, not the entire board. You don't punish a board for bad behavior of 1 or 2 members. I'm going to leave it at that.
Thank you. Commissioner Frazier.
I agree with all the commissioners in what they have said, and I'm not going to repeat and go over this again and again. I do think that the committee or the board is dysfunctional. It is not carrying out its primary function. I disagree with Commissioner Oliver in that he feels that it shouldn't be reorganized. If there's a safety issue involved and it's disorganized where people can't even talk to each other on that board, it needs to be reorganized. What does that mean? I don't know. There may be too many members. We may have to look at reducing the number of membership. Change of leadership? Probably. Commissioner Brinson was spot on when he said that it's up to the leadership. It's up to the chairman. It's not up to the liaison of that committee or any other committee. The commission liaison sits on these boards as a liaison, a go-between between the committee and the city. He answers or she answers questions that are provided to him or her by the committee, and he or she does their best to get them an answer, to help clarify things. We do not direct. We do not vote on any issues that are brought up by the committee. We are silent. We are just there as a go-between. I really don't have much more to say about that. It's all been said up here tonight, so I hope you all listened to what everyone had to say. It was all good information. I don't want to point fingers at anybody. I don't want to name names. Look, we're all in this together. That board functions as a board, and right now it's not doing that. And it isn't these 2 members over here or those 5 members over there. It's all their responsibility, and it's all their fault that it isn't working correctly. So being that it is dysfunctional, we up here need to address it in somehow. And I think Commissioner Oliver had a good idea, is get HR involved, let them do an analysis of what that board is doing and what it's supposed to be doing, and present us with some alternatives, some options. And we need to talk to the board members as well. I don't know them all personally. I don't know what motivates them to sit on that board. If they're just on that board for one reason, well, then they better look at the reason why they're there in the first place. It's a diversity board. When I approved the funding that was discussed a few months ago and everything, that was for one purpose and one purpose only, for that diversity board to expand its efforts to different cultures, races, and ethnicities within the city, to encompass as many, if not all, that they can. That's what the diversity board is all about. It's diverse. It isn't focused in on any one thing in particular. And it seems to me that we have been narrow-minded, narrow-sighted in the past, where we haven't been looking around to see who else needs inclusion in the city with that board. So I'm going to leave it at that. It was all said before, and it was all said well.
You done?
Yes, sir.
Real quick on one of the comments you just made, I'll make reference to. There's no way that we can take the board that's having the problems and let them be the ones that decides what's going to happen. That's one of the problems we got there now. If you're going to have a diversity board, diversity means everybody. When a person, it's like the guy says, as long as you're agreeing with me, we're okay. That's how it works. When you got more people on there that got to vote, if you're agreeing with me, we're all good. If you're not agreeing with me, then get over there and be quiet. Don't say nothing. And I sat on that board for 3 or 4 years, never had an argument, never had any bad discussions. I've sat up here for 37 years, never argued with the kind of argument I had to do here with that commissioner, who went on Facebook, made derogatory comments about me and this lady here, who's one of the most outstanding government persons that I've ever been around, that's straight up and true. And you can preach about the Bible, folks, but you better live it. And the problem is it's easy to say it, but it damn sure ain't easy to live it. And some of them are saying it, but they don't live it. We don't want to go into having all that discussion. Seems to be a prime thing to do. Jump on the thing. Somebody sent me to that this afternoon. First thing I read, I knew what it was. It's a call to arms. Bring them out. Bring them out here to tell us how bad we're doing, what we're not doing. Bring them out here to make the complaints. I sit on that board, and there's certain people here knows full well that everything's run great in the last 2 or 3 years. And I don't want to sit up here and call somebody a hypocrite, but somebody is. You want to sit here and call us names and say that I talked to somebody? I've been doing this a long time. I know better. But I guarantee you there is somebody up here talking to somebody. Now, I know some of you ain't going to think that because you're the ones was called up here tonight to come back. But let me tell you something. It is damn well the truth. He is doing that stuff, just like he did today on Facebook. I didn't read it because I don't look at anything he does. I got to sit up here and have filmed me because he thinks because I argue with him. I don't argue with him anymore. The good Lord told me to quit, and that's what I did. And I believe in the good Lord. I've lived it all my life, and I don't tell lies on people, but some people do. If you want to hear all this stuff, you can sit there and grin and do anything you want to do, but it's a job that you have to do up here that you can have people say the things they say on things. You can never go anywhere and read anything that this lady or I or Firstner has ever been on there and said something about another commissioner. Never. You won't hear it. You won't see me on Facebook doing that. My conscience means more to me and what I know in my family that I would do something like that. But when you want to make a name for yourself, you want to get out there to do it, you got to do that because he's got a purpose in mind, and that's what it's going to be. So you can, just like tonight about these, we all know what it says. And when I tell you 3 minutes, it means 3 minutes. Sometimes a couple people go over it, just like he does. But safety. I talked to the gentleman, Mr. Kennedy, and I talked to Mr. Maxwell. Both of them's okay. Mr. Maxwell's okay. Listen, every place that you have a public meeting, there's a danger of something happening. It don't matter where it is. Never, ever was there an argument in that place. But you got people, and you can't do it, Commissioner Firster, because you got too many people from one district that's going to vote to do what we got to do. And as far as I'm concerned, we'll revamp every board. Every board we got, revamp them. Not just this board. You cannot have that kind of many people on that thing doing what they're doing. It does not work. And that's not our problem, Mr. Singh, that you've been coming to that board for years and they're not doing it. It's that diversity board that's the problem. They don't do it, they don't want to do it, that's their problem, not ours. You do not put on other programs. Never do they do it. And Mr. Moore, you said the truth up there a while ago. Exactly what you were saying is the truth. And I'm telling you, you know what, I've done this a long time. You don't get elected for 35 or 36 years if you do stupid stuff. I've never done it, whether you like it or you don't like it. It's where I do, because I love this place. And Mr. Thompson, one of the things, this town, you do not get people out because it's not doing the right things, because it's not getting presented right. I told the preacher from High Point the other night, they need to go to every church in this town, and get those people to understand they need to come out to this program when we do it. They did not bring more people to this function last week. The same number of people. I got the pictures, and I looked at the thing on Saturday. No, I did not go to that because it was not what was supposed to be done. Even the diversity board did not want them to do Saturday. Did not want them to do it. You got to send us there Saturday night. You were there. It was a great program. Then we had them there Sunday with the reverence of the church, and that worked. You didn't have to I called it a carnival. Exactly what I called it, was a carnival. No, I didn't go to that. And I'll tell you something else. If there's any vendors that owe money that we dealt with, send them to me, because there's not. We go through the process like it's supposed to be done. Everything goes through the accounting department, the way it's supposed to be done. Receipts. One of the things I read on that receipt, parking attendants for less than 500 people, parking attendants. And if you don't believe that, put the phone up to your face and watch how many people were down there that day. In 27 years, we have never used parking attendants. They paid $1,400 for parking attendants. You know, and the toilets were going to be free. Also, we give that man bounce houses. We got charged for that. We give those bounce houses to that young man. Oh, hold on. No, not now. I'm telling you, so that was also charged to us. We give them away to him, and he said, yeah, the city will be able to use them free. That didn't happen. So I'm telling you that, and truth. We have to know what the truth is. If we've seen it, come up to it. And you know, what reason all this goes on is, okay, we'll talk. The other thing is,
I was never involved in this politics.
you can't talk, remember? That's just like that. We give them free, all of a sudden they forget it. I listened to everybody talk for all that time, and I just sit here. It still upsets me about what Commissioner Wilson said about they got the gall to say that on Facebook and go out to people. And you got a couple of people here sitting here telling me earlier about what this board don't do and don't do. They didn't been there. I've been sitting there and been there. I know what it does. You run one of the best people off that board that was there, Miss Hart. That is a loving person that does what she's supposed to do. But no, we had a gentleman vote to put her off the board, but it didn't pass. At least they understood that. They didn't pass, but she resigned anyway. Because why would you want to be on that board when she's there to do what's supposed to be right for the city? But they run her off. And I'm telling you, there's other things going to come out. Talking about ethics, they'll come out. It's going to come out. But the bill, they were told exactly what the bill was going to be. And Commissioner Fershner, $32,000. And we give them $32,000. That was what it was said. And Mr. Thompson, they hung Mr. July Perry in Orlando, not Ocoee. Yes, sir. But I don't see a plaque there or a trophy or a, what do you call it, the marker.
Yeah, there's a marker there.
Well, it wasn't there before. It should be. It should be. Well, you can shake your head and do whatever you want, but I sit here, like you said, I'm the mayor. You can get elected bid, you try for it. And I'm telling you, there we go. Make your comments. Like we said, that's what this is for. You know, you don't like when other people talk, you don't say nothing. Because that's everything that person says is the truth. It's not. You sit here and berate two men that are our citizens just as good as anybody else. They serve on that board, but the problem is, when they speak up, they don't want what they're doing. They don't want to talk to them. They run them down. They don't want to have them out there. They want to run that board the way they want to run it. So I'm telling you now, and I hope you got, did you come up with any way to do this? I think we have to go back. We go back, rewrite the ordinance. We put it where we have every commissioner up here nominates a person in that district they live in. And the mayor does one. And then the commission together appoint two more, which that means that's 7. And then you put the church there, one of the churches there as the liaisons. But I'm telling you, and then we can go do every one of them the same way if we have to. But that's got to change. And it ain't going to help Commissioner Firster by letting them do the deciding, because they're not doing it now. Like I said, I'm going to be in trouble when I go home. I wasn't supposed to talk. But I get tired of getting reamed over something when somebody's just making these comments out of the blue, and it don't matter. You can say anything you want to, and somebody's supposed to believe it's the truth. You know, it's hard to sit in church and tell lies and God's listening to you, I believe. So I'm asking the commission, let's say tonight, let's move towards it. If you want to vote for it, no, vote no. If you want to vote for it, vote for it. So I can't make the motion with the gavel and thing.
Are you referring to, all personal attacks, which I feel personally attacked, on that video. But personal attacks aside, I was a liaison at one time to HRDV and never had the issues that we're having. I never heard of a meeting that I was at, that what I listened to today. And it's sad to me because I think the mission of HRDV is to educate the community. Whether you do it by a festival, you do it by having all the literature and everything in, having folks come in on a Saturday and go through information, looking at what's happened in Ocoee and whatever the plan is, but I don't see that happening. And I don't know, again, if the board is too big. I do not want the board dissolved.
No.
I want the board organized and in a healthy state so that it can provide different events for the city. Just what it says. What is it? 1 month it's heritage, Hispanic heritage. Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we, the black essay contest that we have? It's great. We get a lot of kids, and they're not just black. They're black, white, Hispanic. They're there for the essay. To me, that's wonderful. And again, bringing our youth in, doing a festival or an education aspect for the July Perry families, the families that were affected by the massacre. Again, but the board, I think, is too big to put these functions on because there's too divisiveness, excuse me. I guess I want to see the board reorganized, and I think we have to, again, start here as a commission. And I do like the idea. I always like having districts represented fairly across the board. Each district have a representative, plus you could have some wild cards?
Yeah.
What's the right word?
Yeah. At large.
Excuse me, at large. And again, they at large, what is that, walk? But again, that's something that I would be interested in. And, because I think at one point, we couldn't even get people to serve on the HRDV board. I don't know if you know that. Go back a few years. We went and opened it up to non-residents because you couldn't get folks to serve on it. And then that's how it got so large. And I think we all know that when things are very large, you get many opinions. And it's not saying that residents can't go in and give their opinions. There's always time for citizen comment during every board meeting, just as we have it. And then, I think it has to be a smaller board.
Yeah.
And I do like the idea that every district has a representative. I'd like to see a very diverse group there so that everyone's, our community. We are a diverse community and we should be very proud of that, considering our history. And we should be able to have as many groups represented within our diverse population. That's.
Mayor, I have a special request for the diocese.
No, sir.
May I ask
No.
you a question, sir?
No, sir.
I
No.
couldn't get here out of prior obligation.
Well,
I would just like 3 minutes if somebody.
I said no,
I have
okay?
another obligation, I apologize.
I know,
But
that's
I'd
all right.
like, my fair chance.
You'd be here next meeting and say something.
About-
If we do
on
that,
the agenda.
listen, listen, if we do that, then I gotta open it up and start all over again. We're not gonna do
It'd be
it.
granted for a specific
I'm not
person. I
going,
asked you for a special
here's what I'm talking about.
Mayor, should we, at this point?
Make
I
a
think,
motion.
well, I'm wondering if, I want to go in that direction, but it would be nice if our residents, after listening to all this, gave their opinions. I mean, it's nothing, there's nothing happening.
Be here tonight.
And there's still public comments on the agenda that we hadn't gotten to yet.
Where?
We're on an agenda item right now.
Well,
Correct.
And we still
I know
have,
where they're at, Commissioner. That's what I said.
we still
You gotta
have
quit trying to run the
comments from citizens on
Yeah.
the agenda
Okay.
after this. So you
Yeah, we're
can
not
still
done
put in
yet.
Then,
yeah, so they can
since
still
I
speak.
brought this topic up, I would like to see us, that we would proceed with having every district make a nomination, and plus the mayor, I'm sorry, every member up here, and then possibly 2 at large.
Make a motion.
That's my motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson that all commissioners nominate somebody out of their district. And then I get to nominate one. And then we can do 2 people, we vote on them, that come from all of us. We get to vote on 2 more. And then we put the church which I think everybody would agree, High Point's one that needs to be still helping. So you did a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Forster. All right. Discussion or vote?
I tend to disagree with the reorganizing because, again, when I was elected to this commission in 2018, one of the first orders of business was to disband a planning and zoning board. You use the same exact mechanism that you're using right now. You just, let me finish speaking, please. You'll have your chance. But anyway, the reason they actually wanted to disband the planning and zoning board, which wasn't really a good reason to me anyway, but again, being new, I didn't quite understand what was happening. But right now, based on what I've seen with that planning and zoning board, how you reorganize it and end up with friendly members on that board, I see the same thing happening here. The exact same thing happening here. And I'd be remiss if I don't mention what is happening here. And I disagree with reorganizing this board. But what I would agree to is, I would agree to actually having those members go to some type of sensitivity training, some diversity training. Bring in Dr. Scott Payne from the Florida League of Cities and have him do some diversity training so we understand the difference between unity, equality, and also diversity. So I would agree to have them go through training as opposed to disbanding. Again, like I said, you want to reorganize, that means disband. That's code for disband. But nonetheless, I would agree to some training. I think that's reasonable before you start punishing a whole board of members that's there. There's a bunch of members that want to do the work, but again, being overshadowed by other folks' agendas, I think that it is only fair to those members that we conduct some type of training for those members and then go from there, as opposed to doing what we're doing right now.
All right. Let's, I still believe that, like I said, we gotta do, excuse me, I still think we have to redo it. And it has to be us that do it. We have to do it. We have to set those boards up, and it has to be all of them, it has to be all of them. It has to be done with districts. We started to do that one time, and I don't know how we got away from it, but it was supposed to be districts. That way you get some of them's not gonna be on the board if we do it, but that's the way it is. Some people will, some people won't. But that's what I'm saying. Mr. Forstner, Commissioner Forstner, I know what you were saying a while ago about that, but it won't work because it has already got to the point. And I will tell you that one of the board members told me that he wants to redo it. He's in Hunting, I guess, somewhere. And then one of the emails also said do away with the board. And I don't think we need to do that. Nobody wants to do that. We're a unique place because we do have a diversity board. But we just not got it going in the right direction. We need to do it. So,
May I ask a question?
all right. Question?
I guess my question is, what's the desired result of reorganizing the board? What do we plan to achieve by having fewer members?
I think what we're trying to achieve is what we talked about all night, is get the board where they can coexist together and run it. When you got too many, and it's loaded with too many from one district, that's the problem.
Well,
that's what we're trying to talk about.
Yeah, having too many members from one district that's the district's issue, who doesn't have enough members, because the people who live in that district has to volunteer for those boards. But if no one is volunteering and there's vacancies and they happen to be filled by one district more than others, I don't think we should not have those vacancies filled because other districts are not represented.
I'm not arguing with that.
So my question is, again, I don't understand what the reorganization, I'm assuming the reorganization means fewer members. Is that what that's?
It will be fewer. It'll be probably 9 members or something like that.
And so again, my question is, the difference between 9 members and 13 members from a managerial standpoint, I mean, that's negligible. Leadership, additional leadership required. So I don't understand the reorganization purpose.
Yeah.
Another option that was put on I'm sorry. Thank you. Another option that was put before us was redefining board objectives, which could be that the support services defines the programs, and brings them back to the advisory board for assistance, they would be planning the event, and they would come back to define which events they're going to have support services do that, and define what the objectives of it will be, of the item. And it may mean that there'd only be, let's say, they want to do a 9/11, so it'd be Saturday morning. They want to work with the, is it Asian American Festival to work with them to put their function on. It could be that support services comes up with the objectives, and then the advisory board then would be the volunteers, would aid them in the function. That's another option that seems to be relative that we could do.
Yeah, and I think that providing that type of direction to an advisory board is great. I agree with that. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about reorganizing. So
Well, that's reorganizing also. It's defining the objectives of the board. Because we cannot have, what I listened to today, we cannot have. That was just quite a show, if you really want to know. When I'm listening to it, I had to stop listening.
Yeah, but again.
Which nothing was happening.
But I go back to, again, is that because of the number of members on the board, or is that because of the members who are on the board?
Well, it
You know
appeared
what I
to be
mean?
the same voices I was hearing. Quite frankly, I wasn't hearing all the people who were in this room. I was hearing just a few voices that were overpowering, or should I say, the majority of the conversation. And that's not what you want on a board.
Right, and
Why
I
are the
agree
people
with
staying
that.
silent? Are they staying silent because they're being overpowered by the folks who were only ones that are speaking? Are they being listened to? When you start having a large board and people don't know what's going on, then they remain silent. I don't want a silent board. And it's so.
Yeah. See, you're not convincing me to reorganize this board. Now, if you're saying that we're going to reorganize the board because the board has trouble meeting quorum because of the numbers, okay. If you're going to tell me that we're going to reorganize for some other, but reducing the number of members on any advisory board, I don't see where that's the answer to this. I don't think that solves this problem that we're having on this board.
You could name two people if you want to the board to still have the numbers. I mean, that's not the point. But we sit here and berated these two guys that are on that board because what they do, and they're trying to talk, and they're getting berated because they're trying to talk and say something about doing something else. That's not gonna stop. I know.
That's my point. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you have 7 members on the board, it still may go on.
No, but it never did. It never did, Commissioner. Never did. Never before has that gone on. Never. And they told you why, and they've said it why. But
I'm just trying to figure out the reorganization.
Yeah. The boy said the cows come home with.
Yeah,
We need
I say the
to
same thing.
figure out some way to
My
fix
son
it.
laughed when I said it.
Let me interject a little bit here. I would like to make a motion that we allow.
We got a motion on the floor.
I can still make another motion. I want to make another motion that we allow.
No, you can't.
Excuse me, sir, I can make another motion.
No.
Should I read it to you?
Let's
So
finish
you're
this.
telling me I can't make a
Commissioner.
second motion?
Huh?
Can I?
It has to relate to the motion
That's exactly what I'm getting ready to
Well, then
do.
tell us
It
what that
related to
is.
the motion that, it's right
You're
here.
making an amendment. That's exactly right.
It's not a motion, it's an amendment.
Okay,
Come on, guys.
all right.
Yeah.
So I cannot make another motion. Can I make another motion?
Yes.
The city attorney's telling me I can.
No, he didn't. He said, let's vote on this, and then if it don't work, you make one.
You can make an amendment, you can make a motion to amend the motion that's on the floor.
That's right.
Thank you.
And then we vote on it first.
Thank you. Let me get it out
You
first.
said an amendment. You didn't say amend the motion. You said I'd like to make a motion.
That's right.
You need to say I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay, good. Can I make it a motion? Can I make a motion here?
right.
Can I make a motion to amend the first motion that we actually allow the members to actually have some type of training as opposed to reorganizing or realigning this board?
No. Get a second.
Can I get a second on that?
I need to hear that that amendment again.
I would like to make to amend this motion that's on the floor right now, that we allow the citizens, the members of the HRDB to attend some type of sensitivity training before we go through all of this. Allow them to be trained properly as to how to conduct meetings, how to go through the meetings, the process of Robert's Rules of Order. Give them all a book, get them to the ABCs of Robert's Rules of Order, and allow them to understand how this works before we go through that. So I'd like to amend this motion that will allow them to go through some training before we,
All right.
before we reorganize.
All right,
or,
you said it. You said it.
This motion.
The motion. You going to second?
Yes, I'll say.
So just so I'm
Seconded by
clear,
Commissioner Brinson.
is this in addition to the reorganization, the
Not the
motion that's?
reorganization, this actually is an amendment instead of reorganizing, but to just allow them to go through some training, some type of sensitivity
So
training.
this doesn't have anything to do with the motion of reorganization going by
Well,
district?
do I have to go in addition, or can I say in lights
that-
of, or regardless of this motion? Just my
Well, I think the amendment has to relate to the motion that's on the floor, which is the reorganization of the 5. Now, if that motion doesn't pass, then you can make a motion to do your alternative. Right, if you vote on the first motion, it doesn't pass, then you can make a motion for your alternative, the training part. If you're making an amendment to the motion, then that amendment would be the same motion, plus you're adding the training on diversity to that motion. But that doesn't sound like what you
No.
want.
No.
So I think we need to vote on the motion that's on the table, which is by district, the mayor appoints one, each district appoints one, the 2 at-large, and I think if I understood, a member of High Point as a voting member or liaison or.
Liaison, voting member, I don't care.
We need to vote on that. If that passes or fails, then we can make another motion for further
I don't believe
organization.
I don't believe that was the motion.
I
That was not the motion.
Reorganize to where we would, if I'm correct, Melanie, you want to go ahead? Oh,
Correct, yes. The motion was move to have each commissioner or each city elected official nominate members from their district with 2 at-large members and a representative from High Point Church.
That was it.
That was it.
All right. So we got a motion, we got a second.
Who seconded?
Commissioner first.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I made the motion.
First, Commissioner, I'm sorry, Commissioner Person. That, I think, will solve, we just got to figure out some way to stop that. That ain't going to stop it when you got the same people there. It'll never work.
I have a question before we vote. How do we determine what pool are we getting that from?
You get it from your commissioners, the district. I mean, you got somebody on there that's already on there. Somebody's already on it.
So, okay.
Commissioner, I think we would do it like we did the planning and zoning. We'd come back with a resolution that would outline the process for selecting members to that board and the terms so they don't all expire at the same time. We'd come back with the resolution setting forth kind of the organization, but I think the idea is each commissioner would select someone from their district to be on the board. The mayor would select someone citywide, and then the city commission as a whole would appoint 2 members.
Can I make, I can't make an amendment. I'm going to hand it off to that motion.
You want to hand it off?
Well, I'll try something else here. I would make an amendment to it that we do to that motion, that amendment that we add 2 from each district. 2. That way you get 10 people, and then you put the church in as a vote member, and that gives you the 11 votes. That's 11 votes. So that, commissioners appoint 2.
Right, but we're back at 13.
No, we're not.
What about
That's
the 2?
5 is 10,
So
and
no
then
2.
1 person.
So the two non.
That's 4 commissioners is 8. The mayor is 2, that's 10. And you got the church, that's 11. That's it.
No at-large.
No at-large.
So now you say no at large.
That's what, I made that motion to do that way. That other.
Okay, no, that's, I'm saying,
Yeah.
if you had at large,
That
we'd be
way,
back at 13.
you have.
We'd be back where we
I know.
started.
No, you got 2, you get to name 2, commissioners. I mean, the commissioners get to name two
Okay.
people. Well,
11 and 13 is the same.
it isn't a number really, it's the problem with what we're doing with there. It's not the number.
Because we choose it from the.
Well, it's not the number, sir. It's not the number. There's got to be a reorganization because they're not getting along.
Right, and I agree with they're not getting along, but I think they can get along. But what we're
Well,
doing
how
is
about-
reorganizing from the people who are already there. We're not.
All right,
I don't
okay.
understand.
I made an amendment. If you want to vote, don't vote.
We need a second to that amendment?
You second?
I'm going back to I'm going back to the size of it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the problem, is that, when it was smaller,
I like
they
it
seemed
smaller.
to accomplish, but when
Okay.
it's
I
gotten
won't
so
give that
large
motion.
that,
Don't
I have
second.
a problem with, I think just
All right.
as Commissioner Brinson does, that 11, 13,
All right.
You're
Go,
res-
go with the first one. I'm
You're
not
rescinding
second. No
the
second.
amendment?
No second.
Dies for lack of a second.
Okay,
No.
sorry, I
All right, now we got the motion.
okay. The amendment
He's got it.
dies for lack of second.
Here, that's right, I can get it back.
You're
All
the
right, we
man.
got to vote. Motion, read the motion out, Melanie.
The motion was to have each elected official nominate members from their district with 2 at-large members and a representative from High Point Church. The motion was made by Commissioner Wilson and seconded by Commissioner Furstener.
and maybe some new folks might be interested.
Yeah.
So, it's not like we have to come back to
Let's
the
vote.
group, it could be.
All right, let's vote. Motion carries 3-2. All right. Can the city set it up with the ordinance and stuff, Rob?
Yeah, Mayor, we'll get with the city attorney,
I would-
and
I
we'll
would-
come back with the needed resolution
Yeah.
or whatever documents.
Okay. All right. Now we're going down to the comments that citizens and public. Now you can make a comment. Fill out the form, though. Anybody else wants to say something, fill the form out. You can fill the form out and say something.
Right
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
My name's Chris Adkins. I live at 606 Ridgefield Avenue. It's in the Brentwood Heights subdivision and there at the top of Stark Lake.
Speak into the mic.
I want to make a comment first to Miss Rosemary. Her and I have had a relationship for a decade, spoken to her a lot. I've met her in rooms, in city buildings, because she specifically wanted to follow the rules. So I can stand up and attest that even as a citizen, she's made sure that we followed the rules. When we talk about whether somebody can sit in front of the Ocoee sign, what are the rules? When we talk about different boards within the city, what are the rules? I don't see how we can address a human rights diversity board and set up a set of rules that doesn't set a standard for all the boards. I don't see how we don't use human resources. I don't see how we don't use human resources to help guide us on what's fair. I don't see why we don't make sure that there's not conflicts of interest for individuals who sit on the boards. And those who are leaders should go through some leadership training. But it should be uniform. But unfortunately, all throughout Ocoee City politics, it's ununiform. We have some events that get this funding run by this group, and some events run by this group that get this funding. I've said for years, let's have events, all events designated to one area, and then let's pull out of that and make sure they're all diverse, right? At the end of the day, it does come from leadership, Larry, right? But you know where the leadership is? It's not on a volunteer board where people have 2 and 3 board positions on 2 and 3 boards. It's right here. That's where it's at, okay? And you know what? When we don't have rules and we don't set policies and parameters, we can't hold anybody accountable. If you act inappropriate, you should be written up. You should have verbal consultation. And if you continue, you should be removed. I have a job. My background is in operations. Okay? This is a joke. And I'm going to finish on this. This city for a long time has had this same thing going on, no matter what the issue may be. And we look horrible. You know what people think of us outside of this city? We're a laughing joke of everywhere. And I'm not making that up. Perception matters. And darn it, we got to get with the program. And I'm not trying to be rude to anybody. I respect everybody up here. I have differences at different times with everybody up here. But this has got to stop. Because what we're doing is we're repeating what we've already gone through. Arguing, fighting. What about decorum? What are the rules?
All right, time's up.
Right?
Time's up.
Let's get with it. Please for us,
Time's up.
Mayor, please.
Please,
You're the
time-
main leader. Let's go.
Time's up. You know, I'm gonna comment on what you said. You're sadly mistaken about what people think about this city. I do know where you go, and I can tell you for a fact that's not the truth. And if any of you live in this city and think that, then you know what? Because that's not true. That's right. If you don't like it, do you live here?
That is true.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm not supposed to talk. I'm just saying, yeah, I'm shaking head. No, he's not. I live here. I've lived here a long time, and I talk to a lot of people all over. And a lot of people in Orlando. I go to board meetings with other mayors. I go to other places. Everybody can make their own little snide remarks, but that's not the way it is. And if you don't think that right, ride around and ask people, because that's not true. That's why we have 50,000 people that live in this city. They want to live here. If you come here, they want to live here. I'm not going to keep going through this with them. He can say that all they want. This is not a bad place to live.
I never said it was a bad place to live. Don't say that, please.
All right,
I
okay.
love where I live.
No,
That's
I got
why I'm
you.
here.
Okay.
Mayor, can I make a comment? You know, I've gone to the county, and I like the way the county does it. And I'm going to say is that when we give citizens comments, I'd like them to make their comments and not have rebuttal.
They don't read it.
I know, but no rebuttal up here because we have 10 minutes at the end to say what we think. And I want to hear what you have to, I'm just going to say this, I want to hear what you have to say because when we get up there and we start having
All right, let's go.
comments, it is disruptive. That's my opinion.
Where's this? Back to back. You got your card? Did I get it, Bobby? No, it's him. I'm sorry. You're in a minute. Him. 3 minutes.
How's everybody doing today? All right, my name is Eli. I don't know, some of y'all may not know me. I grew up in the city of Ocoee. My grandma had a house here for 30 years. I'm 31 years old. I have 4 kids here that I grew up. I'm a mentor in the community. I'm a leader. My intentions was I never thought I would even be here, you know, but I've been mentoring these kids, leading these kids. 4 years strong, I did events. I thank y'all for what y'all done for me the past few years, but my first 4 years, I did it by myself. I knocked on doors, I was mentoring youth, never asked for help, did it out my heart. And, you know, just now, you know, a few years ago, the city did donate bounce houses to our company. I did mention to them about what I do for the city, do for the community, and they sponsored it. The agreement was, you know, I sponsor back events, which I sponsor back many events. We know we just came out of we still going through a pandemic. This agreement was before the pandemic. If y'all know anything about bounce houses, the reason why the city of Ocoee got rid of them was because these are hard to manage. I'm struggling in business right now, trying to stay alive because I'm giving back. I'm doing for my city, doing for my community. You know, even with the bounce house, before the Unity event, it was maybe 2 or 3 other events we did this year. It was never a problem paying out my invoice. And it's not even, to me, it's not even about money. But now when it's a problem to pay us to come out, even when I discounted the invoice and brought extra it wasn't forget anything that's personally going on here. I did it for the community and for the unity, what we need, and I got my daughter here. I come to these meetings and all I see is like, is bad for the city. And I understand, look, it's personal, a lot of issues. I don't the politics side, I promise I never want to get this close to it, but I'm being led to, and I'm a follow. Here, this opened up my eyes to a lot, because we need change, and I know I've been doing it, and now I'm being forced to speak up more because I'm dissecting a lot that's going on. I don't talk about a lot. I love all of y'all because each one of y'all did something for me, spoke to me, this, whatever. Y'all all helped me in a way, and I appreciate that. But all I'm doing is giving back to these kids, these youth, these kids. I grew up at these parks. I go to these parks. I'm actually playing ball with these kids and these youth. I see what's going on. I see the mental illness that's going on in these communities, these mental illness that's going on within. It seems like a lot of us grown-ups still got mental illness that we're dealing with. We need change. My daughter was back there, Daddy, this is intense. And I don't think it's not supposed to be like this. So, like I said, I appreciate it. We got to come to agreements on these bounce houses. I'll give those back if we can't.
We don't ask you.
Because those things, it's damaged, it get patches. It costs money to maintain. It costs money for people to deliver them, set up them. So I appreciate. You want to say something?
When you get through, I want to tell you that you've done a great job with that stuff.
Yes, sir. Now, but I feel because.
Here, I know that if it's where you worked out that you didn't have to get free anymore, that's fine. But that's what it started out as a bounce house to get free. And you've always done good. You've always come out and participated. We thank you for that.
But I would like to come up with an agreement, because it's like if they pay, because they started paying me, but now all of a sudden I'm not getting paid. And like I said, it's never been about the money, but my family got to eat too.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. All right, we're gonna cut this down, we're gonna go here all night. So, these last two that I got, that's gonna be it. Brad, you still waiting, I know, you still wants to get up there and hurry, so we're gonna let him up there.
Appreciate it, Mayor. How you doing tonight? Hope everybody is well. My name is Bobby Belton. I am a resident of Ocoee. I also work for the City of Orlando. My Brother's Keeper program started in 2014 by President Barack Obama. I was listening to the conversation about the board tonight, and the motion has already been changed. So keeping the current board is something that's not even on the table anymore. However, in my thought process, and my sister back there in the back, just some of the comments that she was making just brought some thoughts to mind, and then something that Commissioner Oliver talked about as well. When it came to the concept of training. And one of the things that I would like more information about is like and I think somebody mentioned it, the objectives of the diversity board. What does that look like? How is it comprised? I'm interested in trying to serve in a capacity to bring about change in the community and be diverse across the board. A couple things that I wrote down to make sure that I stay, because I'm a preacher too, so make sure I stay within the time frame, is splitting the board up into subcommittees that serve the different diversity events throughout the year. You know what I'm saying? Because I know we talked about earlier the whole 15, 13, the number, and so on and so forth. But if you have subcommittees, and I've seen this work within the City of Orlando, when you have subcommittees, then you have people that are designated directly to, whether it's July period, whether it's Hispanic Heritage Month, whatever month it is, you have those people that are dedicated to that conversation. And then to Commissioner Oliver's point about trainings, also, the volunteers of these people, they got to attend. I think Commissioner Brinson said about how there were people that not showing up, volunteers that are not showing up for the events. Well, I mean, if you're going to be a part of this board, then you probably need to be there as well for all of the events. Because if we are diversity, I can't say, hey, I don't want to go to this one, but I do want to go to that one. We need to be collaborative, right? And then ultimately, one concern that I had was, and maybe I stepped out, went to the bathroom or something like that, but who decided one church as supreme for to be the presiding dynamic? Because that's a concern for me. When we start trying to sit back and say this church, that church, that church, I mean, where I come from, we under one church, all right? One nation under God. That's what we say in our pledge, right? And so when we start doing this church, high point, first point, and I'm not disrespecting nobody by no means, but what I am saying is, I got 10 seconds to say it, I'm concerned about that, because then that puts other objectives, and other agendas, at the top, and I'm concerned about that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jennifer, John? You got Harry Singh, Ms. Bradley, and then Brad Monmouth.
Okay, I just want to say that it's been heartening from the moment as a business owner moving into the city of Ocoee. I've been at every meeting as a business owner to get involved from the day that I opened up a business. And who said it was right? When you mention the city of Ocoee, you do get a lot of negative. And the reason you get a lot of negative is because of the leadership that sit here. I've sat here several of times and I watch bickering. Even when it comes down to the Ocoee Remembrance event, it's so much bickering going on about it. But when you compare other events, there's a big misjustice. Why is that? Why, as a vendor, a black business vendor that came to bring unity, that I get calls from the mayor asking to decrease the event when other events go strong? Why is it that a budget is put together based off of what descendants request for an event, but it's not granted? From my understanding, unity is supposed to be, and remembrance is supposed to be about the lives that was lost. Do the descendants get a choice of what kind of event or celebration they want? When I look at the leadership, and the leader of the city failed to even show up for a festival that the descendants asked for, it makes me question, what kind of leadership do we really have? And then to have my mic shut off as a person that's worked over a year without payment, but I can clearly look and see what other event planners and promoters have gotten from the city for events that are mutually beneficial to the leader. It's very shaken to understand, why are we still living in a days where we're talking about celebrating the past, we're talking about bringing unity, but my question is, did you see the unity and the diversity that was at the remembrance? Did you look at the contents? Did you speak to any of the descendants that asked for a festival, that asked for happiness? And then to blankly be disregarded by not a response back through an email or a call to an invoice that, again, caters to lots of small businesses in this room. No business should be working without pay. If you are interested in unifying the community, then you'll put back in the community, and you'll at least have the decency of leadership to respond to invoices, calls, when I was clearly sitting in the city manager's office, and it was okay to look at the numbers, but it was not okay to give a response back to the final invoice. That is disrespectful. It is disrespectful to the unity. It's disrespectful to what you claim to be as leaders. I don't even understand why we're here and why change isn't made. So in my last 10 seconds as an event coordinator, if I have to eat cost, I will do that. But I also will speak and help an army get together to make change and bring true unity and leadership.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. We'll answer that after we get through. Mr. Singh?
Honorable Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. My name is Harry Singh, resident of Ocoee, living in Western Bay. Tonight, this meeting is very interesting. I was once a member of the Diversity Board, and was given a letter that terminating my position. That I wear many hats in this community. Indian Horizon, as a nonprofit organization, 501c3, I'm involved in voter registration since 2007 census and other programs. On the day of this event that we had, Unity Day, I was doing survey at the Apopka exit poll, but I still come and pay my respect and leave. The thing tonight is about the Diversity Board. What is the purpose of the Diversity Board? Who are they? What are they? What are the background for this diversity board? It seems like the programs that's happening in the city of Ocoee is not diverse enough to bring in all communities that's here. City of Ocoee is we call it a boiling pot where you have everybody from every community living here. They contribute tremendously in every aspect to make the city a better place. So I would say for many years I'm doing events. Look up on my website, IndianHorizonFL.com, or go on Google and Google Indian Horizon of Florida. You will see some of the events that I do, draw up to 20,000 people. The parks and the facility of City of Ocoee is 3 times more than other parks. I was told I'm trying to do 2 events here, a Caribbean festival and an Indian festival. I was told if I rent the hall, they can't rent the park. So now they give me a bill for both the park and the hall that we have here for $5,400. I can go anywhere else and get it for less than $2,000. Why do I want to bring program here? I live here. There's a lot of Indians in here. We contribute a lot, coast to coast, hotel, motel, gas station, convenience store. We pay a lot of taxes, but we don't get nothing in the city here. I got a lot of press to City of Ocoee, City of Popka. I took out 2 programs that I was supposed to bring here because they cannot get proper answer. The guy and the park department need to communicate with the diversity board what's going on there. Some paperwork need to be organized and make that happen, make some changes where this is going on. If I want to rent the park, I need to rent the park. I don't need to pay for the hall. If I want to rent the hall, I need the hall. I don't need the park, or I need it both. Something need to be done here together. So it's either you rent one or you don't rent the other one. As for the diversity board, I'm willing to be part of it, but I do a lot of stuff that takes up my time into there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Ms. Gladney?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm not political. I'm here to speak from my heart as a resident of Ocoee. I'd like to say I don't know anyone up here personally. I have no allegiance to any one viewpoint. I heard some very good things all the way across the board. But one thing stands true, and if you're in this room and you have ears, you can't hide hate. Hate will show its face no matter what you say or do in policy. Hate reveals itself, and you can try to cover it and mask it, but I lost 3 days of sleep the last meeting that I came to. 3 nights in a row. My husband is a witness. And I said, honey, the disrespect, the utter disrespect for us, our people, our concerns, what happened in this city. You mentioned the fact that we're the only ones with a diversity board, but we're also the only ones with that history that will never go away. And every time I drive down the street, you don't see it, you may see it or you may not. I see blood. I see birthright. I see stolen properties, businesses that are thriving and flourishing on the backs of my ancestors. I see it, and I have to swallow it and teach my children to love anyway. I'm here because I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner. Little things like call them out. I'm still trying to figure out who's the because everybody in here represents something or someone. Who's the The sensitivity that he spoke of, this whole panel could use a little sensitivity about words like call them out. Who's the Thank you. And when you are filled with something other than love, words like that come out and it don't even register to you that when you're speaking about another human, another person, another class or race of people, you can't say because we are people.
It's white supremacy.
What I'm trying to say is that hate can't be hidden, and if we're going to see change, we may have to evaluate more than just this diversity board. We may have to look to the helm of who's running this city so that we can really get some change, because we are an embarrassment to Central Florida. And yes, we do get talked about. And people do ask me, why do I live here? I didn't know anything about it. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. I didn't come up under any kind of Southern hand holding me back. I came up as a black woman to think free, to live free, and be free. So this thing that hovers over the city, I moved into it. I didn't know what was going on, but now that I know, and I match it with what I experience here, my heart bleeds. And I lost 3 nights of sleep, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. All right.
When my city calls me to sing, I show up. I don't ask for a dime. Anything I can do for my city, I do it.
Time's up.
All right.
Good talk.
I'm not
Good
meaning
talk.
to be disrespectful.
No, you did a good talk.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No clapping. Remember, it says on the
I can
thing.
go home, I don't care.
No clapping. All right. Brad Lomnet.
All right, I just want to bring a couple of things up. First, Brad Lomnick, Veronica Place. I would ask staff in the interim of this reorganization that we do have money on the books already for some early 2023 projects like the MLK and that thing. If you could ask Doug and his staff to make sure that that is still on the track while we're figuring this out, I would appreciate that. Secondly, Eli, your bounce houses are great. I think where the confusion was, and I don't know if Commissioner Oliver just didn't know, but in multiple meetings, he said those bounce houses were free, right? Said they should be given free to the city 2 or 3 times a year. So that's maybe where that confusion came from. Did you say that or not? Did you not bring it up 3 times in 3 meetings?
Yes, I did. I did say that there was an agreement when we first gave them the bounce houses that they would be given
kept
for
on
free.
telling us
That's
those were
exactly
gonna
what
be
I
free.
said.
Yes.
All right.
So
finish-
what
finish
part
up.
about that's wrong?
You're wasting your time, Brad.
There
Okay.
was an agreement.
Secondly,
Yes.
the city commission and the HRDB board all agreed on a $30,000, $200 budget. That is, Rob, may I ask, is that $30,200 been totally paid to the event planner? Okay, so anything above that is just overspending, I would assume, that nobody is approved or budgeted for.
I don't know, I would say it was overspending. I know the commission authorized, I think it was $32,000, and that's been paid. I haven't heard anything else additional authorized since that meeting, and those checks were cut.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, now, okay. I'm not gonna get into all that, no matter what we do, and I know a couple of people, and I know what they go around saying, but I can tell you that I hear it every day, and I know the other people do. We have a great town. So you can think it's not, that's not true. It's a great place to live. A lot of people live here, 50,000 people. Somebody likes it. So, and it's been that way for a long time. What happened in other places too. I can't go back and apologize for those people. I didn't do it. I wasn't raised that way to do it. Whether you like me or don't like me, I don't believe in it. I served in the military with men that I had to serve with different color than me. Saved my life. No, I don't disagree, but it's not something. Everybody wants to badmouth it because you don't agree with somebody else. We have to run the city. You want to go get somebody to run, go get them to run. Let's see it. Let's see it. Go get it. It ain't as easy as you think it is. Sit up here and take all the abuse. They can call you everything they want to call you, because that's what it is. You want to call the abuse it. But you can preach to the Lord, but the Lord doesn't know what every man says and what every man does. I don't lie to people. I say what I believe, and I do it. I went to every one of those incentives and talked to them. I have worked way before these other gentlemen come aboard to get to where we're at with the diversity. I went to Montgomery. I went with the people that was on the diversity board to get it set where we could start what we did. So somebody wanted to jump in and do it. We started it. We did it under budget. No, I didn't go to that. My 2 granddaughters were there working because I had something else to do. But I was there Saturday night, and I was there Sunday. And I was promised I'd go to the preacher asked me to go. And no, sir, the church doesn't have to be a certain church. It can be anybody we decide it to be. But that church has put a lot of effort, a lot of time, and they're a diverse church into this thing. If you'd have been around them, you'd see that. They're good people. They believe in what this diversity is. And they put a lot of time and a lot of effort into it. So I'm tired of hearing this stuff about the city. If you live in this city and you think that, something's wrong. And I know that. This place is a good place. And there's a lot of people with other colors, the diversity, that love this city. And they'll tell you that. So we're going to take and move to the comments from commissioners. Whew, and I hope they don't do long. All right. Huh? Commissioner Firstner.
No, I don't have any comments tonight, Mayor.
Commissioner Oliver.
I'm not going to beat a dead horse in my comments here.
No.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I'm not going to beat a dead horse here with my comments. I definitely want to say that there has been some conversation had tonight. I think it's healthy conversation. Even though it makes some folks uncomfortable, that's okay, because I think the conversation was healthy. There are some things that were said tonight that folks said they spoke from the heart, and I don't discount that from anyone. Anything anybody says, I don't discount that. So again, I thank you for your comments. This is the democratic process. This is what we're here to do. We're here to allow our citizens to speak and to speak from their hearts, to tell us what they want, tell us what they need. That's what you're here for. We work for you. I got 10,000 residents in my district. I got 10,000 bosses. I want to hear from them. Whether it's something that I agree with or disagree with, it doesn't matter, because I work for them as I work for you. And I thank you so much for coming out and making your comments, whether I agree with them or disagree with them. So thank you for being a part of the democratic process. We talked about Veterans Day has just passed, and we, due to the Hurricane Nicole, we were not able to have our Veterans Day ceremony here in Ocoee, which is unfortunate. We have a very good ceremony every year in the city of Ocoee, which is a city that I love. I love this city. I'm going to die in this city. I'm going to be buried in this city. I'm not going anywhere. So I had the opportunity to visit the Challenge 22 walk at for veterans in Winter Garden. It was a great event. There was a lot of folks out there. Their city commissioner, mayor was there, and it was a great event. So if you ever get an opportunity to visit Winter Garden's event as well as the Ocoee event, please do so. I want to thank all the veterans that served in our military. And again, I'm sorry that we were not able to conduct our ceremony for the veterans, but Winter Garden picked the slack up, and they did an awesome job. Clark Road widening project is still moving forward. We said they were about 90% in design phase, and please just bear with us as, again, we have to deal with 2 hurricanes in 6 weeks, a lot of debris pickup, so our focus has to change to a few things when it comes to the hurricane and the debris pickup. So, but that project will continue to move forward as we recover from Ian and Nicole. The traffic light at Ingham Road and Clerical and Ocoee is underway. They're moving quickly. So in the next few weeks, you'll probably start to see those mast arms and poles being put in place, and I'm sure that those lights are going to save some lives. I'm 100% sure they're going to save some lives. As those folks coming around that corner really fast, it will start slowing down some of that traffic and do some traffic calming for that particular area. Voting. I know we just got through voting. This has been a draining. This midterm elections have been very draining with all the advertisements and text messages and emails, and it is just I'm just glad that it's over. However, we do have elections coming up in Ocoee in March 14th. We have an election coming up then. And also, if you're not registered to vote, you have an opportunity to register to vote. If you're under the age of 18, you can vote as early, or you can actually register to vote as early as 30 days prior to your 18th birthday. So if you have students in high school that's going to be turning 18 30 days before the election, they can actually register to vote. So please, I encourage you to encourage your kids, your high schoolers, your college students to register to vote. Again, it doesn't matter who you vote for. It matters that you register to vote and exercise that right to vote. If you have any questions about voting, you can contact the Orange County Supervisor of Elections Office. Their number is 407-836-2070. 407-836-2070. I'm going to shift to the water bill. I need to, if it's okay, can we start the clock? This is a discussion that I need to have with the commission up here. Is that okay? Can we stop the clock for a second to have this discussion? All right. I have been receiving many calls, and I think this has come before the commission previously, where members' water bill has been the water has been shut off with no notification. And I'm trying to get an understanding as to, and I received several calls on this right here, just one today, and I'm trying to get an understanding as to what is the mechanism in place when a person receives a credit on their bill, and then they won't pay the bill, I guess, till the credits is depleted, and then all of a sudden the water gets turned off. That's what happened to one of the residents today. But the thing that kind of rings in my mind is the fact that they say they never received notification, and I've heard that several times. No email, no text message, nothing. So what, is there anyone that can possibly answer that? City manager, do you have any information on what's the mechanism on folks getting notification that their water is about to be turned
Commissioner, I
off?
found out, I mean, if we had the address, we can probably look it up. I would suspect in that situation you're talking about, it's possible the account was signed up under a landlord's name, possibly, and there was no bill payment or something like that. We put door hangers on. We usually have contact information. We'll send letters. So there could be something strange about that situation. If you'd like to give me the address later, we can take a look at what
Well, it's
happened
not
in
just
one.
that particular situation. It's not just that particular address. This is, again, I've received at least 3 phone calls of this happening over the past few months where a person's water bill was turned off. And the first thing they say to me, these folks don't know each other, is, I never received any notification. I never got an email or text message.
I wish you would, sir. Give me those addresses then. So I'd like to check into that and see what's going on there. Because
Well, can you explain to me
that
what's the
shouldn't be.
mechanism, what happens before a person's water gets turned off? I know you mentioned,
Well,
they
typically-
go out to the resident, they put a door hang on the door. Do they send an email out? Do they send a text message?
So to be honest, I mean, we have an ordinance that says when we're supposed to shut someone off. Typically, we stretch that a bit at holidays, on weekends. We don't want families with children to lose their water on a Friday afternoon. So we're fairly generous with it. We come up with payment plans. If you can't pay the bill, we typically like to bend over backwards, very customer service attitude, let you come up with some type of payment plan or something like that. But just to cut the water off with no notice, there's something strange going on there.
Okay, yeah, that was my question, just. what
Yeah,
happened?
we
What-
do everything we can to help them keep their water. And I would say if you can't afford to pay the bill, 99 times out of 100, we just come up with a payment plan.
Well, these
And
people
we
that I
don't
spoke-
want to cut
the
anyone
peop-
off.
I'm sorry, the people that I spoke to, it wasn't an issue of them not being able to pay their bill. It was just a matter of, again, life happens.
Right, that's why
And
I'm
they
saying
move forward in life,
there's
and
something
they're looking for
strange
some
going
type
on
of
there.
mechanism to notify them that their bill is due, or their bill, or their light, the water is getting ready to be turned off. That's what all I was
I
getting
thought
at.
the bill says that on it, that if you don't pay it, you get a $10 late fee. And my understanding, and you can clarify this, is that the bill says that if you don't pay it by a certain date, and my understanding is they go the second month, if you don't pay it by a certain date, I believe my bill says I will be shut off. And I think that's the notice that I've had it once where I forgot to pay the bill. And the next month, I mean, you get a $10 late fee, but the notice, the bill says, if I don't pay by like the 15th, the second month, I'm going to get the water cut off on the 16th.
And that's what I'm saying. If there's no notice and they don't know about it, something happened there. Because, like I said, we do everything. We make several contacts before that happens. We give them the opportunity to make good on the bill, whether it's a payment plan or whether it's a check or, an in-person visit. We don't like to turn people's water off.
Okay. All right, but that answers that question. You can start the clock back. Well, yeah, my whole thing was about notification. I just want to know what the mechanism of notification. So it sounds like we have our paper bill notification, so they need to read those bills and make sure that they are paying their bills accordingly. All right, one thing I want to talk about is artwork. I would love to sponsor a project where we can actually reach out to our local high schools and have them look at the art classes and see if we can do some type of contest where we can actually solicit the local high schoolers to submit artwork that we may be able to display in City Hall, and maybe have 3 winners, maybe a winner, a second runner, and third runner-up, that we can display that artwork here somewhere in our City Hall. I would love for the city to be able to sponsor something like that. I don't know what it would take to do that, if that is something that we may so desire to do, but I would love to consider reaching out to our local high schools and offering that as a contest. I don't know what department or who would be responsible for something like that, but I would like to present that. City manager, that's something that the staff can look into to see if we can promote a program like that, or maybe I would say the HRDB board do it, but
we also
may have to argue about that too.
Community relations, Parks and Rec, they've all done, even the Parks and Rec board in the past, these different departments and groups have done similar things in the past.
Okay, so I'll reach out to Parks and Rec and see if that's something that we can look into, and maybe bring back some type of summary or summarization of the conversation to the commission if we want to get behind something like that. Okay. All right. Oh, I received a call from Ms. Wilder from Winter Garden. I know every year they have their annual Veterans Day ceremony at the Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church, and we do a full-page ad for $100. Is that something that we will continue to do as a city?
I can't say. We have a list of the ones that we do every year, Commissioner, so if you call us in the office.
Well, this is one of the ones we actually do every year. So is that something that we will continue to do, where we put a full-page ad in their commemorative, they have a commemorative booklet?
So typically out of that account, if that's the commission's account, if it's something we've done the last several years, that was put in the budget then.
Okay,
So,
I will.
so
it's
any
$100.
adding any new,
It's $100, but it represents the entire commission.
But I think, if I'm correct, it was always in. It was always, if I remember correctly, Ms. Wilder has come to us so many times.
Yeah.
I thought it was already in.
Well, she called and asked, would we actually do it? And I said, well, I'll bring it before the commission tonight, and if we've already done it, so.
yeah, so typically if they send the invoice, we look to see if that's something that we've done every year that the commission has directed us to do.
We've done it before.
Yeah, we've done
Yeah,
it.
and that's what I'm saying, we may not have received an invoice.
Okay, I'll have Ms. Wilder give you guys a call in the morning.
If not, make sure they get the $100 and then we can
Yeah,
figure where it comes from.
I'll be happy to take it
It's
out
a
of
nice
the
little commemorative
discretionary
booklet.
fund if that's the case.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right, so finally, I will finish on this. And I said this before, and I'm going to say it one more time, because I think it is just so important that we understand these words. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out just what any people will quietly submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue until they are resisted with either words or blows. I prefer the latter of the two, words, or both. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those who impose of those who they oppose. I'll read that again. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. That was Frederick Douglass. I'll yield back to the commission.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, thank you. I agree with you regarding sensitivity training, regarding the commission, because I feel as though, and I'm going to call Commissioner Oliver's 14-minute video out, you don't call your residents out. You don't call your commissioners out, in my opinion, when it's wrong. And so I'm looking at you just because you made the comment, but yes, that's an issue here. It appears because I didn't know I was doing backdoor politics. Boy, enlighten me, huh? Where it happened. And I don't like our residents being called out when they're giving their time to the city. I think we talk to people. We don't put a 14-minute video on. So I'm going to go with that and leave it at that. And I honestly hope you don't watch it, because I don't want to add likes to it or whatever you do on that method. Regarding Eli, maybe it's time we relieve you of that, giving us free, those bounce houses. Bounce houses only last so long. I understand that. Maybe it's time the commission relieves you of that so many times a year. That's something that if you want to do on your own, out of the kindness of your heart, that's your choice. But maybe it's time at this point, because it was quite a few years ago. And I understand bounce houses, I'm sure, don't have a long life. So I don't know if that's something the commission wants to,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to, I guess, is it a consensus that we just relieve Eli of the?
I think he's already being, he's already invoicing the city and they're paying.
No, but I'm just saying in the future.
Just get consensus.
In the future, that if he can, those are his bounce houses, and we relieve him of whatever commitment he may have made, obligation with the city, because it's been quite a while.
Thumbs up from Commissioner.
Consensus.
Consensus, are we good?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, as for Commissioner Oliver, you can always sponsor that art contest. That's what we got that $10,000 for. That's a great, I mean, that's, when you said, can we do it? I think that's what we were doing. That's why we got the $10,000, to sponsor whatever we felt was appropriate.
I thought it'd be really good if the whole commission got behind it. And I think it would be good if it shows unity within our leadership, that we all do it
Well,
as a city.
Maybe you come up with a plan, and maybe each one of us maybe give something from our discretionary fund.
Sounds good.
I've given most of mine to the police department, but let me tell them they can pull back a little bit. The other thing, last thing is, I was going over my calendar, and I was wondering how the commission felt. The second meeting of December is the 20th. City Hall is closed on the 23rd. I realize that a lot of our staff possibly would be taking that week or the week after off. If there's nothing on the agenda, would anyone have a problem with a consensus of canceling the December 20th meeting if there's nothing that's pressing? Or are we early enough, Rob, to make those decisions?
We're early enough to make sure there's nothing pressing. Yes.
Oh, what a nice way to put it. You sure you? Okay. Scott, is that consensus, or is that a?
Consensus.
Okay, I'm,
Consensus?
good? Okay, that was good then. All right, thank you so much. I think that's everything, and happy Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the interest of time for our illustrious Director of Public Works, are you still available? Oh, there you are. He was hiding in plain sight. Where's that pastor? Did I sound like a pastor just then? No, okay. Can you give us an update on, I know throughout the city, we got sidewalk issues that's going on, and we had a brief discussion. Can you give us a quick update on that?
Sure. We received pricing through a piggyback contract through Kissimmee that one of our continuing service contractors has, which helps us speed the process up. It was already competitively bid a couple of years ago, so we get older pricing, which is great in this economy right now. And we just received that pricing today. We're reviewing it with my intention to bring it before the commission at the first meeting in December for approval, and probably realistically starting January. to see the sidewalks repaired.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. That's, waited a long time for that,
Glad
45
to
seconds,
report.
but that's why you get paid the big bucks. So for all those out there that have sidewalks in your communities that are in need of attention, whether replacement or repair, as you heard, our Director of Parks, Public Works is on it. It takes time, but I know there's some sidewalks that I've witnessed driving by and I had to do a U-turn to identify them. Just be patient. We've got a lot of stuff on our plate right now, especially coming off of, as one of the commissioners mentioned, hurricanes kind of back to back, causing a lot of problems. The same thing with the debris removal. I look out, as I drive throughout the city, I still see that still happening. I don't know, Rob, if you can speak to where are we on that? Are we just about there, halfway there, 3/4 of the way there?
I'd probably have to ask Steve to come back up and address that, Commissioner.
Can the illustrious Parks and, Director of Public Works come back to address where we are on?
Yes, Commissioner, the debris contractor has completed all the passes right now for the Ian hurricane. They're going throughout the city. We had a lot of trees that came down on city property that we're having them remove those out of ponds and such. And then there's some isolated areas where people have had some trees from Nicole that we're having them go back and pick up also. But there's it really isn't easy to get to, but there's a 30,000 plus cubic yard pile of mulch or debris that they're going to start mulching this week and haul off.
Okay. Again, please, we said this before, be patient. Be patient. Because not only do we have to pick it up, we have to take it somewhere. And wherever we take it, have to be able to receive it. So be mindful of that. Your city staff is working hard. Hopefully, the Orange County is working just as hard for areas that they're responsible for. And I'm sure our city staff is coordinating with that entity to make sure that we get that debris picked up. But please, by all means, patience is not just a virtue, it's something that we all, I know I exercise it every time I sit in this chair. So be mindful of that. Thank you, sir. We've had some spirited and demonstrative and animated conversations today. So must-see TV, if you will. Next time, bring your popcorn. The sign, now, this may cause you to have to come back up. The sign at West Road and Clark Road is down. I don't know if that's ours and that sign is for the four-lane extension.
We're aware of that and getting a new sign installed.
Okay, because I saw it looks kind of bad. I can't see my name, pat myself on the back.
Would you like me to write it down for you?
Yeah, write it down so I can look at it every day when I pass by it. You answered the thing on this. Rob, this one is for you. Christmas decor.
Are we talking for City Hall?
You go ahead.
For City Hall?
Unless you're going to come to my residence.
Yeah, so actually, they gave me the plan. We had a subcommittee reporting to the Architectural Review Committee that they gave me the plan this morning. So we can share that with you, the color scheme and what we're going to do. We're going to have lights out front, some uplights on the building and some garland, big tree. It'll be nice. They came up with actually a standard version and an upgraded version. We're probably going to go with the upgraded version. We'll be doing some, mostly in the front, in the courtyard out here. There will be some decorations in the back parking lot too, facing the lake.
What about the light poles?
The light poles are 100% going to work.
100%.
They should be going up shortly.
Mr. Mayor, 100%.
99.7%. I'll go with 99.
100% per the city manager. I didn't say that. He said that. But that is, we have a new city hall, and we want to showcase that during the holiday season. And for those out there who've not visited the Withers McGuire House during the holidays, specifically Christmas time, it's a sight to see. I would encourage you to come see that. We are going to decorate that again. I'm not speaking out of turn. Absolutely. All right, great. We talked about a lot of leadership. Now, I know I probably said leadership tonight probably 27 times. I'm gonna make it a even 30. City leadership. It is our responsibility, I believe, to protect the public. Sometimes we protect the public from themselves. Sometimes we gotta protect the public from us. So we have to also implement a level of leadership that makes sense when we're discharging directions or our duties as well. So it's not just board leadership, it's not just direction of the city staff, senior or otherwise, it's also the leadership of this commission. And I think we have enough leaders on this commission to do that if we collaborate in that. And oftentimes I found when I'm sitting here that there's a lack of collaboration or understanding or even a willingness to talk to one another. And I try to be the reasonable, responsible person. I try to take that approach because I think that serves me well, and I think it will serve the citizens, at least the ones in my district, well. And hopefully some others will take on that approach so it'll serve their districts and this municipality well as well. Turning off the Jennifer Yon or Miss Jennifer Yon was presenting or actually updating us on the Unity Festival, and she only had 3 minutes to do so. I found that to be disheartening because she literally was working for or behalf of the city, and so she's coming to give us an update or back brief on what happened and where it is. And not only did we give her only 3 minutes, we cut her microphone off. That's not good. In fact, I'm going to say it this way. That is bad. It's just bad. We got to do better than that. And I don't need to rant and rave and say, I can't believe it, this is a travesty. I don't have to do that. We've seen what happened, and she's not telling us her personal views. She's giving updates to a city event. And it may read 3 minutes in the rules, but this is not that. This is not a public comment saying this. This is a vendor trying to let us know where she stands or where the event that she planned stood. She made mention about being in your office. I don't know what happened there, but hopefully we can make some things happen. And so what I would like to do also is find out what is the balance of the invoices and what is needed to pay these invoices off. Okay, we need to stop the clock. No.
I saw an invoice, but I couldn't tell you the exact number.
Okay.
You can give him a copy of it, can't you?
I don't have one with me, Mayor.
Well, what I would like to do is I would like to make a motion that we, based on, I don't know what the invoice is, I don't know if it was out of line or what. Pay this invoice.
$25,000 to $27,000.
I'd like to make a motion that we satisfy that invoice to this event planner.
I'll second it.
I want to see the.
Yeah. Okay, let me amend that, because that's a good point. I would like to make a motion that we satisfy these invoices after we've seen the invoices for this event.
That's still not giving us an opportunity to review. If we make the motion, we pay it. We haven't seen the motion. We haven't seen.
No, I said after we've seen it.
Well, but I think we have to, I personally want to see the invoice, not now. I'm not going to sit here and go through the invoice. I think we should be given the invoice and come back at the next meeting and look at it. I want to look at it. I don't want to say blindly that we're going to, I do not want the invoice right now.
Right, well, and that's understandable. You know, we have to have time to review. After review.
After
Scott,
review, come back.
help me with this. Scott, help me with this. Why are you snorting?
Well,
Humor me. I'm laughing.
I think, Commissioner, I think it would be appropriate to direct staff to put it on the agenda for next meeting and bring the invoice, and City Commission can discuss it for approval.
Okay, I would like to make
receipts with that, please.
invoices and receipts.
And the copy of the minutes. what we approved. I think it's good for us.
What minutes?
Well, we made during one of our meetings, we said
Yeah.
how much, so it'd be nice to have copy of those minutes, but I don't have them.
Okay. And a copy of the minutes that we used in supporting documents to include the minutes which we used to approve it initially. Is that perfect?
That's the motion.
I've never been perfect before.
Yes, you have. I'm good.
We had a second?
Was that
or does it need
seconded?
Another second?
Commissioner, you want to second it?
He seconded.
Commissioner Oliver seconded.
Okay, so whoever has the gavel needs to call for a vote.
He's over here with her.
Oh, no, I just said that, yeah, I think everything, so we can review
I
it.
will tell you that I will vote for this, but I want to see the receipts, and go over those before we pay it. And the only reason I will vote to pay it is because of the church. The $8,000 should have been paid to them a long time ago. They didn't get their money.
Yeah.
So for the dinner and stuff they did that Saturday night, that should have been paid to church a long time
Can we
ago.
see the receipts of?
I'll vote for it tonight, and I want to see that before we do pay it, because
Yeah.
we need to go over, because we did say not to do
I
that.
agree. I agree with you, Mayor. 'Cause I think the
All right.
church did receive a check.
Yeah, but there's other things on there, like I said, that we need to go over. All right, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right.
You know, that's funny, 'cause I think that was it. Ain't that something? That's amazing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You done?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I want to, Ms. Padney, if I offended you, I apologize, but I don't have hate in my heart. I don't know who you were talking about. If I had hate in my heart, I wouldn't have been doing what I've been doing with the diversity board the last 5 or 6 years, plus, growing up in this city with what I do to try to help solve that problem. People can say what they want to, but there's a lot of hate in people that goes both ways. And that's a fact. Like I said, I don't put stuff online. I don't put stuff on anything, Facebook. I don't talk about people. I believe that you should have, when you sit up here, it ought to be where everybody has the same feelings for each other, that we vote. You cannot, just like in that verse, you cannot get mad at somebody because they don't vote the same way you vote. You're here to vote for what you think's right for the city. We got people that want to question things we do, and like, it depends like the building, not for this. We spent, say, and I've heard it about the music fest. So, we spend $300,000, we go collect $300,000 in sponsorships. That's another thing, I'd like to see the sponsorship that anybody got. So, that went with that stuff. I'd like to see the sponsors. We work at it to go do that, because it's the citizens' money we're spending. So that's the problem. We don't want to do it. And somebody always brings it up, but let me tell you something, 10 or 15,000 people come to that, not just Ocoee people, all the people come to it. We've diversified it out to other kind of music, just where it will be for everybody to come to it and do. But I grew up in the South, but not because of where it was at. My mother and father brought me here and brought me to Ocoee, and we've been here since 1955, and I have never, ever, not with my mother, if I had her here, I could tell you that if I had her back, I could say it on her that I have never hated people and hate. If it did, I wouldn't have been in the Army doing what I had to do. But I love people. I've worked in this city to do that. And if people don't want me back, they'll take care of that. I always said if you had term limits, that don't matter, because if you're not doing your job, people are going to vote you out, and people don't like it. But I'm telling you, this is a fact. And I know Commissioner Wilson's heard it, and I know First has heard it. They love this town. You're going to find people that's got some problems. They've got problems about it. And everywhere you go in this state, there's been somewhere in all the United States, there was hate. Not just in Ocoee. And we have not had any kind of diversity problems in this city in the last 40, 50 years, even 100 years, not since that time. Nobody. And it's not that way. And whether or not they treat you the right way, that's another thing, somebody that's stupid on their part. And like I said, if I offended you by that, I'm sorry. But I am here to work for citizens, all citizens. And I do not understand, the only thing I do is talk to Commissioner Wilson about something when her husband was sick. I talked to her about that. I showed her how to get to Gainesville the back way without having to go 75 and almost get your life killed trying to get there on that road. But I respect these gentlemen for being on the board. I respect the ladies. Miss Hart is one of the nicest ladies you ever want to meet in your life. And that Nicole Hawkins, I've served with her on that board, and she can tell you, I got along great with her. Allie Bracewell, who run for office, he was with us up there. He can tell you the same thing. You can't preach hate when you got 5 kids and 11 grandchildren. You don't want them to see it. And I don't preach hate. They know, they love people. 2 of my granddaughters were working in that thing Saturday out there. So, no, I had other things to do. I donated money to the Winter Garden Legion. I did a check for them because I wasn't going to be able to be there. So, Rob, I don't know, I was going to ask, 2 trailers, they got 2 travel trailers parked in the neighborhood behind a fence in a house. Is that legal
Travel
now?
trailers?
Travel trailers.
6-foot fence?
They're living in them.
Not living in it, no.
Yeah, you're living in it.
Parking beside the side of the house with a
Beside the
6-foot
house.
fence.
With a fence, though. There's a fence.
Yeah, so we would just have to get code to go out there, and we would need some evidence that they're living in it.
Neighbors
That's-
wanted to know because, well, I'll bring it to you.
Yeah, we just need a complaint, Mayor, and typically if the neighbors are willing to complain, then they'd probably be willing to let us get access to see what's going on there also.
The other one is the speeding on Worst Road. They called me again, and the
Already taken
person-
care of. They should have been out there today, and they're gonna be out there every day for the next week.
I'm telling you, they run over a dog and kept on going. The lady called me. They slap over the dog, never slowed down. She's out there waving at them, hollering at them. They went right on.
I think today was the first day I sent them out there, so.
Did you get the email?
Also on Clark Road through the school zone too.
There was an email that what he was doing.
The TV, is our TV working? Because I've had citizens say it's not on. Is it on?
I'm not sure.
All right.
I
Well,
believe
somebody needs to find out
Spectrum,
because citizens said it's not on.
the Spectrum
So,
channel.
Here's the thing Commissioner mentioned earlier, March the 14th is the races, our election. We qualify in January, and I will tell you, I've heard the rumors I'm not running. I am running. I'm going to run one more time, and I'm going to try my best to win again. Because we have moved this city in the right direction, not just me, all the commissioners have worked for years. And we get that, I get told that at functions all the time. We're moving in the right direction. We're trying to get to where we're supposed to be. You can not like some of the things I say, but when you get elected to a job, you got to do the job. It's just like, if we cut you off, I asked you to quit, I said the time's up. You know, I'm not getting into another discussion over it. And I will say, Ms. John, I tried to talk with you. You asked me, you've talked, let me finish. You asked me my opinion of what we should do on that Saturday. And I told you that. I said, this is what I think you should do. You should have Saturday night and Sunday. That's what I said. And that's what I told you I wanted, and I told you that because you asked me what I thought. And I think we were at the bike shop. I remember that. Ma'am, I know. No, ma'am, I did not. You called me. You wanted to meet with me, and you told somebody else that, and I did meet with you. All right. So that's that's going by. I'm going to look at the bill. And if it's things that I think I can vote for, I'll vote for it. But I believe we have to. I know there's prices on there about stuff that I don't think's right. So I'll bring that up when we talk about it. But I voted to go ahead and do that and look at it. And whatever you think about want to run. You know, it ain't fun. If you want to do stuff for the city, it's good to do. And like I said, everybody up here has to take things get a lot of calls. I know every commissioner up here probably gets them. You know, I got one Sunday, I had to go after church. I went to the guy's house to look at the problem. My wife thought I was nuts. But that's what you do. So I can tell you that I love this place. I've loved it all my life. I've been here, and I'm not going anywhere. And when it's time for me to go home, I'll go home. So let's matter of fact, I want to go home now. So I got time left, but I'm going to get over it. So please find out about the road. And the speed bumps. Can we not put speed bumps? Steve's gone, I guess. Can we not put speed bumps on Worst Road?
Yes, we can.
Well, you need to, because it is a drag.
Yes, we can, Mayor. So the one issue that we need to, we just priced them. It's about $7,900 now per each one. So I think you.
It saves a life.
No, I understand. I have to talk money, though.
Yeah.
So I think you all did 4 or 6, a
Yeah.
total of 4 or 6. If it takes 3 or 4, I'm not sure that you were allocating towards that. There was also around Spring Lake Circle, one of the streets up there that
Well,
needed one.
You got Fluellen and Ruiz.
So,
Ruiz is a drag strip.
I guess the question is, Mayor, if we want to do Fluelling and that one street, I can't remember the name of the street up by the school, the elementary school in Spring Lake, if you want us to use that money that we put, and then we'll worry about any others that come in at some other point, I think with a consensus, we
Let's
could
look
do
and see.
that.
You know, something's got to slow them down because somebody's
Yeah.
going to get killed.
But we've looked at it, we know what you're talking about, we know what the price is now on the contract for them.
All right.
It's just, it was a matter of, and I can't remember if it was 4 or 6, we only funded
Yeah.
4 or 6 speed tables this year. So is
Okay.
that where you want us to go, or to hold on to that in case we get any appeals from neighborhoods to
Right.
put them in the neighborhood?
Okay, so
Morse Road is a tough one, along with White Road, but that's.
White Road's bad too, but, you know.
Yeah.
So, I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much turkey.
Can I
What?
say one more thing?
Yeah.
Just want, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned this, on December 10th, there's a breakfast with Santa, it's $10 a person. Spaces are filling up, I'm told today they're up to 90 already, so if anyone's interested in wanting to have breakfast with Santa. And then please mark your calendar for the same date, July 10th, we're gonna have a street party out here. Jolly Jamboree, and, no, December, did I say?
December the 10th.
Did I? December 10th. And there is brochures, whoever's here, there is brochures out in the lobby and online. So please, mark your calendars, it's going to be a fun time.
Fun time.
Thank you.
All right, good evening.
Thank you so much.